Good evening, everybody. I hope you're doing well tonight. It is a wonderful Friday night, and I am looking forward to doing what I hope won't be too different from what I normally do. But I decided, I ran into a few people over the last little while who said that they were, this is actually something I hear quite a bit as of late, is that they were interested in Crusader Kings 2, but they weren't quite sure how to go about it. It seemed like a very complicated game, and not necessarily the friendliest one to set up. So I decided tonight, especially because I had such a wonderful time last time, but I really didn't get a whole lot done in the game. I thought this would be a good opportunity to sort of sit down, do a lot of Q&A first of all. So if you have any questions, if you have friends who wanted to get into this game, maybe if you own this game yourself and you've never actually picked it up, I'd love tonight to be an opportunity to sort of get people into the game who maybe wouldn't normally have picked it up. So that's the first goal for tonight. Second is, of course, to make some progress in my own game. But I suspect, what happened last week is probably a bit of a one-off. Although I do still sort of feel like I'm obligated to give you guys something a little bit better than what I did last week, because I got the largest single donation and then a follow-up donation. So I think people paid for a pretty inferior product last week. It is, of course, worth mentioning that on Monday I was not able to stream, so I definitely regret that, and I thank you guys for bearing with me. We will be back with Shadowrun Hong Kong on Monday at the very least. I think it's very unlikely I'll be able to do any makeup stream over the weekend, just simply because everything that people had indicated about grad school is true. There's a lot of work to be done, and it's definitely very difficult to keep on top of things. Sir Wedgie, it's great to see you tonight. I hope you're doing well, my friend. Weebro's hosting us. Thank you so much, Weebro. Let me take a minute here. You know what? I better not mess around with the Twitch alerts. I know that has a habit of messing with things, but Twitch alerts should be putting up my Clockwork Orange image, but it isn't actually doing that, so sorry for that. Zombie Nerd 47, you are extremely kind for saying that. I have to suspect, though, that it is much more for the weekend rather than this ramshackle little stream. It's great to have you in here, though. Welcome to everybody. I'm just taking a minute to sort of let everybody file in, because I'm wanting to try and take this from first principles. Again, I don't think this should necessarily be all that different from what I do normally, but I thought tonight especially I'd like to make a focus on talking about the basics of the game. How do I go about making sense of it? This is a bit of a unique game in the sense that I really learned to play it on stream. And I'd kind of like a chance, maybe to promote a little bit more Q&A and just a little bit more learning material than what I normally do. I'll take a minute here and get some proper introductions out of the way. Sir Wedgie, great friend of this stream, great friend, I'd like to say, of my own, though I've never had the pleasure of meeting him in person. An absolutely spectacular mod, not just for Seriously Clara, but for a number of streamers. A streamer in his own right, and I hope that maybe with his recent acquisition of a certain science fiction cyberpunk role-playing game, we might maybe get a chance to see a couple of his streams of him doing that. But an absolutely outstanding guy, a guy who really is one of those mods who can take a claim to making a channel. And I think anybody who has gone to Clara's channel knows what a very good stream and what a very good streamer she is. But I think a large part of the experience and what is so wonderful about going to that channel is Sir Wedgie. So somebody who really cannot have too much said about his contribution. Of course, as mentioned earlier, we also got a host from Weebro. Weebro is a Team Panda member, so another connection with Seriously Clara. If you're not familiar with Team Panda, feel free to click that link just below my name. That is a collection of Twitch streamers brought together by Seriously Clara.
Read, for lack of a better word, is good.
Oh my goodness, Sir Wedgie, thank you so much.
Question: why is system so awesome?
That is not a question I can answer without losing my deeply held reputation for humility. Thank you so much, Wedgie. That is completely unnecessary, but something I am deeply grateful for. So thank you very much. I should start charging more for compliments. Nah. You're a great guy, and I mean that definitely means a lot, especially because I definitely feel that with what you've contributed, both in terms of the work that I haven't done on Clara's stream that you've been picking up on, I sort of feel that it should be going the other way. We need a donation button for the Wedgie mod. Oh, thank you, Sir Wedgie. That's actually from a old Stanley Kubrick movie that I'm a very big fan of, but seeing that name below the image definitely means a lot, so thanks a lot. But I was talking about Team Panda and Webro. So Team Panda is kind of a group of like-minded streamers, somebody who have been brought in fact, evaluated by people like Sir Wedgie, so you already have a mark of quality there already. And in this case, one of the, I won't even say newer members, because it's been a while since I got onto Clara's mod team, but in fact, one of the first candidates that I got a chance to look at and absolutely was astonished by the quality of his stream was Webro, who hopefully is in the chat right now. If not, I hope you guys get a chance to talk to him in the future. But he is somebody who works in game development, somebody who has an absolutely wonderful camera presence and a really great stream. Just the quality of the animations, just the general flow. Somebody who really has a talent for presentation. And it's one of those ones where I remember kind of stopping by at the beginning of the stream and just looking at the number of people who are actually watching and thinking, is like, what is going on? Like, why are there not more people inside here? It's like I almost feel bad that I have to evaluate this stream because I really don't feel qualified. This guy is very clearly doing something that I'm never going to be able to reach. And if there's other streams that I watch that are like that, but Webros is definitely a very good stream, and he's an absolutely fantastic guy. And I'm very happy to say that contrary to my original experience of his stream, the numbers have consistently been going up, and it is so very clearly because of his gifts as a caster and as an entertainer. So if you've not dropped him a follow, and if you've not dropped Sir Wedgie a follow, it's not just because they say nice things about me, it's not because they donate and host, it's because these are the people who I like to spend my time when I'm not streaming on Twitch watching. So I think we've given people enough time to file in. I see we've got some new faces and then had some people drop out. So let's jump into the game and start talking a little bit about how we approach Crusader Kings 2. One of the first things that people will notice about this game, and I think the thing that really attracts them to it originally, are the maps. This is definitely not a bad looking game at all. I think deep down everybody has a little bit of an interest in geography and just seeing the world map. I mean, think about the number of people who go to Google Earth and just take a look, or even have the app downloaded on their computer. It's just something about looking at maps that's really fun. And in the case of, for me, looking at these Paradox games, the map like this is just full of potential, like a blank page in a notebook. So you will begin this game. I'm not able to pick any different countries because I'm in Iron Man mode right now, but one of the great features in terms of the complexity of Crusader Kings 2, but also a potential turnoff, is that you can really play any level. I'm playing the Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, and so I am in charge of this big white area over here. But if you wanted, you could play just a mere count. You could maybe be the Duke of Northumbria. Maybe you just want to be the Count of York, or Durham, or Great Westmoreland, as the previous playthrough was. Perhaps you have no interest in playing Western figures and instead would rather be, let's say, maybe... Hang on, did the Abbasid Empire fall apart? Looks like they're falling on hard times indeed. Sorry folks, you don't get to see the private messages with Miss Jessie Quill. No. Oswald the Lucky, I'm your favorite streamer? My goodness, sir. I, I have a feeling you need to go to that Team Panda link and you need to take a look at some of the other streamers because there are definitely much better people than me on this channel. But with that said, I am deeply honored that somebody would call me that. So while I may want to direct your attention to people who I think are much more deserving of such an exalted title, until you find those individuals, I am very, very glad to take it for myself for a while. I hope you are doing very well and that this is going to be the start of a great weekend for you and everybody, as a matter of fact. Italy looks like a boot. My goodness, you're right. By the way, even though I'm Canadian, that is the only time you will hear me say a boot. And indeed, it is kicking a ball. Italy kicked Sicily into the Mediterranean Sea. My voice is what makes the stream so great. Thank you, Zombie Nerd. I'm sure I should tell this story one day about why I got over hearing the sound of my voice and started streaming, but I'm probably interrupting. I'm letting my ego get in the way of talking about how to divide the realm. So you've kind of seen me already go through the different views of the maps here, but again, you've got this great potential. You've got the world rendered before you in no less than 3 dimensions and in full color. What an age we live in. And you can see it's only an honorary title that increases your opinion of me by 10, so you'll disband that faction. Oh, well played, Oswald the Lucky, well played. So, we're talking a little bit about the types of characters that you can play. You can divide the world amongst counts. Here is a kind of a color-coded guide in terms of all of the counts in the world. Count is just simply somebody who is in charge of a county, or possibly in charge of multiple counties, but in this case doesn't hold the higher title. So the county is sort of the basic unit of control in the game. There is actually one slightly lower, element that you can control, but we'll get into that when we actually jump into the game itself. So a count is probably the lowest, I would say the lowest playable unit in the game. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have a bad time. I think one of the things that's very interesting about Crusader Kings 2 is that the game is as enjoyable at different power levels. And in fact, there is an argument for at least Crusader Kings 2, maybe not Europa Universalis, but playing as a count or a duke could actually make the game a little bit simpler in terms of your control. So as far as, any tutorial elements of this stream, playing as an emperor means that there's going to be a degree of complexity that maybe you yourself don't need to deal with. But I think in this case, the principles that I hope to teach will be something that carry through no matter what level you're playing. You'll also notice there are some gaps in the map here. And that's just simply because these are titles that are held from somebody whose rank is higher than a count. So a really good example of this would be the titles that I hold personally. So, for instance, Paris is my capital, and I know that I have just the different counties that are neighboring it. And in fact, it tells you right here, Emperor Pepin the Magnanimous, which is my character right now, as the owner of these. If I want to go to maybe somewhere that I know I don't, or like Nuremberg, you can see that Princess Githia the Young is the owner of that. Again, I can't get any details about them because I'm playing Iron Man mode, so I'm only allowed to select the area that I started playing as. Should turn off the time limit. Yeah, it is. Apparently the time limit is a mod though, right, Zombie Nerd? I mean, I like playing the game more or less in its vanilla state. I did put in 2 visualization mods, like just to make the map look a little bit different. But other than that, I'm pretty, I run a pretty vanilla game. And I think CPO Williams will kill me if I don't ever actually get around to playing Horse Lords. He did donate specifically so I could get that expansion. Alright, so we talked, kind of the smallest unit that you can play in the game is a count. You have all these areas here that are currently run by counts. The next highest unit is a duchy, which would make you a duke. And as you can see here, just generally more territory is controlled. The world is sort of defined between de factos, counties, duchies, kingdoms, and empires. And then de jure. So de facto means sort of in fact, this is the way that the world is right now. And then the de jure would be by law. And so this would be territory that historically has been within the territory. So this is why you have something like Gascon abnormally large and Brittany sort of divided in half. This is not a traditional division, but the Duke of Brittany, or it looks like it's got a king actually. I don't recall creating a king of Brittany. I'll have to look into that. But in this case here, so this would be the de facto borders. And when you get into the game, you can actually see the de jure borders of the duchy. So there's definitely an argument that people will make that says that playing as a duke is the best introduction to the game. I don't necessarily think that's wrong. So you definitely get a little bit more power than just a single count. If you play in what will eventually become England, you sort of have a path towards maybe becoming king and a certain degree of social mobility. But it is worth remembering that the first Iron Man playthrough that I did was just merely as the Count of Westmoreland, and I was able to become a duke and then a king and then an emperor on my own. So I definitely don't feel... There are people who feel very strongly that that is really the best way to learn the game, but I think the better way to approach the beginning of Crusader Kings 2 is to take a piece of history, to take a role, just to do something. Set yourself a goal of saying, it's like, I kind of want to know what it's like to do X. You know, maybe you don't want to play Charlemagne. Maybe you want to be a Viking. Maybe you'd like to be a Muslim. Maybe you would like to be one of the Rajas of India. All of these options are yours. And that's the great fun and the great appeal of this game. So right now I'm just kind of doing the political divisions of the game because they happen to be a very natural way. It's sort of a built-in built-in progression. If you maybe don't want to sort of define your own goals here. Hey, Red Pain, why have I not streamed the Game of Thrones mod? Well, currently, unless they've recently updated, it's not compatible with the most recent patch. Now, that doesn't mean I can't go back to an old version of the game. But this is really just my second Iron Man playthrough, so I definitely should do the Game of Thrones mod. Maybe I'll do like a special stream for that. But one of the reasons why I haven't done it more recently was I was waiting for it to patch to the latest version rather than download a new version of the game each time I want to do a one-off. But I absolutely agree, Red Pain. It's something that I think there's a lot of interest for, and I really should get on top of it, because I think a lot of people who may not even enjoy the base game might actually really enjoy playing Crusader Kings 2 specifically for that mod. And for those of you who are interested, apparently there's also a Witcher mod. I don't know that much about the lore of The Witcher, but when I looked at it, it seemed pretty solid. It definitely seemed like there was some care that was put into creating that. So if any of you have happened to play that mod and can recommend it, I would definitely be interested in hearing it. And yeah, Oswald, the Game of Thrones mod is definitely its own game. Although I'd argue they actually do some mechanics better than Paradox. So, could you donate CS:GO skins that I could just sell? Well, Zombie Nerd, I might just use those skins myself. I'm always going to take stuff that people give me, but please do not ever feel compelled to donate to the stream, be they objects from other games or financial contributions. Having you guys in the chat to respond to is one of the best gifts that you can give me. It is worth remembering, it is not that long ago that I was streaming to an empty chat, and I remember that one of the first pieces of advice that I actually got from Jessie Quill, who's a fantastic streamer if you guys have not encountered her yet, was talk about anything. Talk about what you did today. Do, X, Y, or Z. What is the thing that I always hear? And I'm not going to say I'm ever going to get tired of hearing it, but what is the one thing I very commonly hear? It is about the system talk. It is about my ability to speak about things and, my vocal qualities. So that is a very fundamental piece of advice that was given to me from somebody I also consider a very dear friend. But with that in mind, right, if I were, just think of it, if I were to have done this for a few months and I was still talking to an empty chat, it's hard not to get discouraged in a situation like that. And more importantly, there's only so much of myself that I can bring out in a vacuum. And so it's not just a case that you guys give me quite a bit of reward being here and letting me talk to you. But I think you actually make it great for other people as well, especially when I get really focused on a game, or when I get, when I just get, I don't know, dumb or inarticulate. I think there's definitely a lot of slack that chat picks up. And so in that sense, I think it's one of the best contributions that people can make to a stream. I definitely feel like my favorite streams have always been ones that have been made by the people inside them. And I really would not, I couldn't imagine anybody else. It's absolutely fantastic to have you guys coming in. And to see, the same faces come by is extremely rewarding. I'm glad that you guys are getting something out of this as well. Let me just take a look here. Yep, Red Pain. Like I said, it's really not that long ago that we were at that experience. So it's very cool to see how supportive you guys have been, and I never ever really want to take that for granted. All right, so we're talking about political divisions in the game. So we've gone from counts, sort of the atomic unit of the game. We've got duchies, which are you can be a duke and count of a single territory, but as a duchy, you are effectively in charge of a larger area. Dukes answer to kings. So presently, this absolutely cannot be right. There are definitely kingdoms inside here. And I suspect there is probably some strange internal reason why I cannot see these listed kingdoms. But some examples here, we've got Bavaria, Croatia, Poland, Bohemia, Andalusia, Africa. Can't stay very long, your 300 gigs a month disagrees with Twitch. I hear you on that, Zombie Nerd. I definitely recommend, if you haven't done so already, you can definitely switch it to mobile, make the most of it. I will say, my bandwidth limitations force me to stream at a very low bit rate anyway, so I suspect there's probably a bit of image quality degradation if you go to mobile, but especially if you don't watch it full screen or something like that, I can't imagine you're losing that much fidelity. Oh wait, I don't have transcoding yet. What am I talking about? Hopefully we get transcodes for you tonight, but I will definitely say I know a side benefit to my limited bandwidth is that this stream can be a little bit more friendly to limited data plans when I don't have transcoding. And sorry guys, I know I kind of ignored a little bit of the GOT material, but I don't actually have that much I can contribute to Game of Thrones conversations until I spend a little bit of quality time with the mod, so don't take that as disinterest. It only shows the top liege, and since you are emperor, it won't show kingdoms within. That's interesting, but I am... With that in mind, I am also the ruler of Bavaria. Oh wait, I think I get what you're talking about. So because I own these kingdoms, it's not showing them, but that explains why Saxony and Bavaria are within my realm, but are showing up as kingdoms. That makes sense. And then, of course, the highest unit is the Emperor. It will never actually show individually on its own, but I think it's fairly obvious, what the empires are. Mostly because Empire! It actually says it right on the title. Now, the Abbasids, at least formally, were an empire. I'm very surprised to see how they broke up like that. I kind of wish I could go back in time and see what's going on. Anyways, so what was the point of doing all of this? When you start the game, it'll definitely give you some recommended characters. It'll also, if you play in the custom game mode, which I strongly recommend, even if you're playing for the first time, going into the custom game mode and actually seeing all of your options are good. There's still going to be the interesting characters bar here. It's empty right now because I'm already in a save game. It'll give you an estimate for difficulty. Now, it's worth mentioning that this did not start at pointless difficulty for me. In this case, I worked my way to this, but Charlemagne is not a particularly difficult start. I'll talk about what is difficult in that playthrough when we get into the game. But, if you play a character close to the Skull and Crossbones, clearly you are going to have a bigger challenge, but it's not going to be any less rewarding, and it doesn't mean that you can't have a very effective playthrough. I have played, so when I played the Westmoreland game, Westmoreland tends to have a fairly high difficulty rating, but it was very successful as far as playthrough is concerned. But clearly in this case, I have a very strong army. I have a lot of territory. It's actually very hard for me to just get completely wiped out, and so I get to the Soother, and it says the game is pointless. But as you can see, there will be frustrations and quite a bit of fun to be had along the way. This is probably the most sensible division of the world. As beautiful as the geography is, it doesn't tell us a whole lot about what we want to know. Some other views that you might use, you'll get more when you go into the game, but you maybe want to see the world divided by religion. We've sort of given ourselves an unofficial goal of uniting Catholicism under our one holy and Roman banner. I got a little bit of orthodoxy to get rid of. Certainly many followers of the Prophet who need to be removed. And of course, a little bit of heresy here and there. We've got the Lollards, Cathars, and do we still have Valdesians? Looks like we don't, but we do have a few pagan holdouts. So eventually we will unite Christianity, and then we will decide to spread the good word across the globe. Cultural view is maybe a little more, I'll say, academic. I haven't necessarily had a lot of cause to take a look at this view because it's not something I have as much control over, but as we can see, the French culture is starting to form and spread. The Frankish culture is eventually going away, and yet the Lombards have not gone away. There's definitely the Italians have come out, but you're going to see something. Actually, you can see it right here, that I am in fact a Lombard myself, and I think it's not a bad idea to try and go for the achievement, so I'm going to keep that culture for a while. There are some effects that culture will have in the game, but I will deal with those when they come up. You have a rule of thumb here on Twitch. If the channel is in sub mode only, you move on. If it's a large channel but not sub mode, then you will follow if they play the games that you like, and you like to lurk to find someone that has the spark and support them. Red Pain, that is an absolutely fantastic way of handling Twitch. I definitely like that. I like it when people give smaller streams a chance. This is partially self-interested, of course, because I am a small stream and will likely be one for a very long time. And I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with being a small stream. But it's very easy to go on a site like Twitch and either focus on the things that you always visit, or say the sort of channels that you always go to, or only look for the games that maybe you play yourself. And naturally, if you do that and just click on the first thing in the list, then there's sort of an immediate reward to being the top streamer in a game. And generally people are on the top for a reason, right? If lots of people are watching them, it's probably because they have got some talent. And, I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with that. But I also know that because I've started streaming myself, I have started to look more and more often at some of the small streams, and I've really enjoyed the experience of being able to watch some people grow in their craft and become better streamers and provide the kind of content that I myself am looking for. And then it's just really nice to be able to get to know a community, somebody, a bunch of people who've kind of gotten together either around a love of a game or maybe a particular appreciation for a way that a streamer does things. I mean, that's why I like hanging out in Weebro's channel. So, I don't know, it's a lot of fun. As far as sub-only mode is concerned, I mean, one of the first streamers I watched on Twitch and really got into was Lethal Frag, and he is a sub-mode only streamer. To me, it does cut out a little bit of the experience because I think one of the greatest features of Twitch is its interactivity. I think it's really the medium that has got that dimension down. If you look at the history of television, there have actually been a few experiments, and very interesting ones, to bring interactivity to television. And as early as the 1960s, an underappreciated, but I think a worthwhile fact about it. But Twitch really, I think, got it down. And I think partly it's just because of gaming as a culture that was able to happen. But definitely, I understand the reasons why people do sub mode, and they are not entirely monetary. But I will definitely say that is a part of the experience for me that's shut off. And generally, the streamer has to be doing something that, that makes up for it. And there are definitely people who entertain well enough that if I'm not able to directly participate, that's fine, because I'm able to have the experience myself. All right, last thing that we'll look at, and again, I almost never use this, but this is a recent feature, and it is kind of cool to look at. We've got the government's view. So in this case, we can see that Ireland is currently tribal, as are we'll just call it Russia. Clearly Scandinavia is taken as well. We've got a couple of feudal holdouts. The barbarians are becoming civilized. We've got Ikta, which I believe is... I believe this is just feudalism with Muslim characteristics. India has got a feudal system, and if we take a look right down to good old Venezia, this is a merchant republic. And that won't do. Eventually we're going to have to add this to our holdings. But why haven't we conquered this small little island? Well, we will get into that. But the last thing I want to say about the map, because again, this is sort of geared towards... I realize it's been about half an hour and I haven't even started the game yet. But this is to establish a point that I think is quite important when playing a complex game like Crusader Kings 2, is that a game like this will give you a lot of information, and the matter of having fun and making some progress in this game is how you manage that information and how you draw your attention to what you want to see. So if we go over all of these tabs that I was looking at, I had pedagogical reasons for picking them. But as we can see, I've defaulted to realms because generally the most meaningful division of the world to me right now is across political lines. So I want to know what is my territory, and I want to know what is territory of other people. And generally this can be a good proxy for other things. If I had to guess, I would imagine that the Byzantine Empire probably has got more access to soldiers than Croatia does. And we'll have ways of verifying that a little bit later. But sometimes that isn't relevant information to me, and especially when you're starting the game, maybe you say, hey, you know what, that idea of just controlling one small piece of land, I think that's a good idea. I want to look at counts. Now you can click on that, and rather than going to, just mere geography and clicking on things and hoping you find a count at some point, again, you're able to divide the world in terms of the ways that you want. Maybe you've heard a couple of things about how certain religious mechanics work in the game, and so you want to play an Islamic caliphate. Well, you can probably guess that somewhere in the Middle East you're going to find the Islamic characters. You don't have to have a particularly deep understanding of history to figure that out. But save yourself the time. You can find out. And of course, if you're at a period where the Sunni-Shia schism has happened, you can also pick which side you want. I don't really think it has that big of an effect in the game, but just a bit of an example of some of the ways that you can very simply manage your understanding of the situation that you find yourself in. And so when you're picking a realm, maybe, again, if you just want to say it's like, okay, I want to play a game as Russia or the equivalent of Russia. Well, in that case, you don't really need to do anything but look for realms. I mean, there you go, Rus. But maybe you say it's like, you know what, I don't want to just talk about, I'm going to play England. It's like, okay, well, everybody knows where the UK is, so just pick this. Maybe you have some other goal that you want. It's like, I want to go from a king and become an emperor. Well, you've got a tab for that, so... Raggedy Otto had the spark, but about 9 months ago he had real life problems and you've not seen him back. That's really sad to hear, Red Pain. I definitely know the pressure of that, and I've been feeling that myself because of course I missed out on Monday's stream, but I definitely want to do my best. My commitment to you guys is to be as consistent as I can in terms of my streams, and when I'm not able to do it, to communicate it as soon as I know that it's not going to happen. Eventually that will change, and I will not only be able to do consistently regular streams without any excuses, but to do more of them. And I have some very specific ideas in terms of the capital that I'll invest into the stream to give you a better quality stream, give you more diversity in terms of the games that I play, and just generally make sure that I am being a good steward of these donations that you have so generously brought in. But I will also say that is a long-term plan for me, so it would be foolish of me to stop streaming unless something disastrous happened in life. And I think at that case I would, even at the very least, owe you guys an explanation in terms of why I would be stopping, and my estimations in terms of what would happen in terms of coming back and getting back on track, because both good and bad things, they're never permanent. But I certainly have no intentions to stop streaming, and the hope is that once the school things are finished, then I'll be giving you guys some more content and better content, because even if I can't stream very often, I think the experience that I have, every broadcast that goes by, I'd like to think I'm getting a little bit better. And there's nothing more rewarding than being able to give you some content. Red Pain says the Lethal Frag is the only one you've been following that is sub only, but you only jump in his only when he's playing a game you like, but most of the time it's only when not much seems to be going on here in Twitch. Yeah, I'll admit that too, Red Pain. It's not a I don't mean to say this as any kind of an indictment on Frag, and I mean my opinion is my own. It doesn't really count for a whole lot. But I will admit I watch less of it now than I used to, and I know he was concerned about some of his changes in format. That wasn't actually why I stopped watching. There's one specific event that I can think of that sort of changed my perception of the stream, which is just something for myself, and I won't go into any particular details about. It's more about the people inside. But you know, it's also worth remembering that I started watching his stream when I really didn't know that much about Twitch, and now I've sort of grown, and I've grown a greater familiarity with the platform, and I've been able to sort of express a preference or maybe discover some interests that I didn't have before. So I still follow his stream, and I'll catch it when I want. But these things happen, right? I know that not everybody that I talk to here on my channel, we're all not going to be here forever. There are going to be some people who maybe, have had their time, they've enjoyed what they've had, but they're looking for something different. And I think that's fine and that's natural. I think that's the way that it should be. And the appropriate response to that is to be grateful for the time that they were here, and to have the most fun that I can while they're here. So I think that's just the way. These things work, right? When I've had the fun that I can have in the Lethal Frag stream, and then if I want to go and watch something else, that's just a natural progression of my experience on Twitch. And there's nothing to say that I can say it's like, who I haven't watched in a while, Frag, and I'll head back. It's great that, especially with somebody like him who's very established, there's always going to be new people to watch his channel, and so I know that when I come back, there's going to be something that I can see. The ones that I get most worried about are people I like watching and I want to take a break from, who maybe potentially would get discouraged and stop streaming. But also, it's not necessarily my job to make people stream more often. I want to be as supportive as I can, but in the end, if they're not getting anything out of the experience of streaming, I also understand that there's only so much I can do. I'm not necessarily going to feel compelled to try and keep a stream alive, even if my one view would really make that difference. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it, Red Pain. Alright, so we're in the game. Now, I'm in the middle of a war right now, so I've already got some immediate goals ahead of me, but chances are when you start playing this game, you are not going to have any immediate goals. And you'll notice too, I did this on instinct, or maybe actually this is from the original map mode, but generally when you play this game, you are going to be in the terrain mode, so immediately I check out realms. In fact, maybe I did introduce this with a visual display of information, so I'll just quickly go over the different views that you have. You've got diplomatic relations. Who likes you, who doesn't like you? I'm at war with the Byzantine Empire. I've got neighbors who are maybe feeling a little bit threatened. Looks like I've married into these people. And most of my vassals sort of like me. So again, does this mean anything? Yes. Is it important that you know about this menu? Well, it depends, right? There's other ways that you can get this opinion, but this is definitely a nice, simple way to... Sorry, guys, I forgot to turn this off. I'm actually curious, so I'm going to click to join and see what happens. It's for a different game other than what you're playing. Please close your current game and accept the invitation from your desktop. Skunk Odor is another Team Panda member. Oh, okay. I did actually disable these. All right. So there's other ways to get this opinion information, but this does also give you a very immediate sort of impression in terms of where your realm is. You know, these are the areas that I maybe need to worry about factions. You know, these are the places that are not likely to respond to a call to arms. You know, this is just sort of a nice, fast way of looking at what people think of you. Is this something that you'll consult very often? Probably not. Is it helpful if you don't want to sort through 1,000,001 different screens? Yeah, actually, this can be very helpful. Religion we already talked about. Exact same screen as what you would see in the menu as with culture. Economy is another good one that you can take a look at. Akadak, how the hell are you, my friend? Akadak is another person, a little bit like Wedgie. He will stream intermittently, but when he does stream, it's a fantastic time. Somebody who I've gotten to know through Seriously Clara, an absolutely fantastic guy, an extremely generous individual, but also a guy who is just fantastic to talk to, extremely supportive of smaller streams and larger streams, because of course he likes enjoying the platform as much as we do here. But Akadak is a fantastic guy who is, I think, one of those people who will make any channel that he's visiting in a better place. And so I consider myself very lucky that he decided to stop by tonight. Great to see you again, as always. I am doing quite well. And I am... Sorry, just got distracted a second. Yeah. I'm doing quite well. I hope you're doing well. And I am... Well, you've said you're already doing well. And I'm looking forward to doing a little bit more of an educational style CK2 stream. All these platitudes, they're heartfelt, my friend. No, it's absolutely true, Akadak. I mean, it was great to hang out with you at AXP Bar, but if I keep saying that, that's kind of old hat. But no, it definitely great to have you in the chat as always. And I can say that as a streamer because, you know, we were talking a little bit earlier about how I think the chatters make a channel. But of course, you know, I see you everywhere. I see you in Alaskan Savages. I see you in all the other Team Panda members. It's always good to have you in here. There's always something to talk about. So it's always great to have you here. So the economy tab, I think, is one that I use a little less often than I should. Sorry, a little less often. Yeah, sorry, a little less often than I should. I think largely it's an underappreciated one. So again, right now, there's not a whole lot that's surprising. You know, the old Roman Empire is very wealthy. The barbarian lands to the east are not very wealthy. I definitely want to go to a con at some point in the future, Akadak. It's on the long-term goals list, but it's going to happen. Jesse Quill. Oh, look at all that love. So, guys, I'm going to take a minute. I know I've been doing a lot of digressions, but it is worth remembering that Jesse Quill brought the single largest donation last week. The single largest donation this stream has received last week, and I proceeded to crash land the stream into doing absolutely nothing useful. So, I'd like to take a minute to, first of all, recognize the extreme kindness that she showed. And in fact, I will also say the extreme kindness that she showed in a few ways, which I need to keep. Well, don't need to, but I think are better kept private. Somebody I am extremely proud to call my friend, but somebody who I would like to take a minute to share a story about. So, to give you an example, I already introduced the idea that she gave some of the first advice, which you get to see every night I stream. But it is worth mentioning that she is one of these streamers who I think is, you know, when you visit a channel and you sort of say, you know, one day I am going to see a sub button, and I'm going to want to push that sub button. Well, Jessie Quill is one of those streamers. And particularly, yesterday, a day when, if it is my place to say so, was not necessarily the best day for her. Still had the sense of duty or the insanity or whatever it is drives somebody to stream. And she turned on the stream and went going. And I think the most important thing about that is that, number one, it was a great stream because she is an extremely talented entertainer. But in addition to that, put on a hell of a show, which was actually quite unlike what she normally does. Not to say that she doesn't normally put on a hell of a show, but in this case she did something different and original. And it was something that the chat latched onto. It was definitely a very relaxed stream, but it was something where where I'm kind of going with this is to say, one thing that has interested me the most about Twitch is I sort of talked about how it does interactivity the best. And how, there's always been this idea of experimentation, especially in terms of interactive media, and generally for a longer period of time than people appreciate. Again, those television experiments were done in the 1960s, I believe. But what surprises me sometimes about Twitch is that there's a little bit less experimentation than you might imagine. I was talking with W. Shand about this at the last Vancouver Twitch meetup, actually. I mean, he's a great example of somebody who's willing to take some chances. But in this case, Jessie Quill, again, manned up, womaned up, did the stream, and improvised. Went with what felt right, went with what felt fun. And I think the thing that really got my attention was the way that she did Civilization 5, because I will tell you that Jessie Quill... all right, sounds good, Jessie Quill. So, she's got many talents and many gifts as a streamer. So I'll say, especially when it comes down to things like that I can't do, like dedication and good layouts and stream quality and things like that. Those are all down, but in terms of personality, a fantastic personality, both on and off cast. But one of the things that I think really draw people in is her great ability. I mean, she's got a fantastic voice, and she is by far a very comely woman. So there are definitely aesthetics to be appreciated in her cast beyond her contributions in terms of audiovisual. But she has got a very great gift for expressions. And I know that actually creates, I guess that can create a little bit of pressure when you have to think about people watching you. But she does it exceptionally well. And so even despite the fact that she has got these great natural talents, she actually decided to do Civilization 5 without a cam and to focus entirely on voice. And again, something that she has an absolutely wonderful voice, especially when she goes in close to the mic and takes advantage of maybe the warmth that adds. But this is a great example, again, where it wasn't necessarily a very good day. And in this case, whatever demons compel one to stream, managed to do those. Although, of course, streaming can also be an extremely rewarding experience and a way of taking your mind off things. I'll definitely say that's my case there. But in this case here, a time where I think anybody else would be excused for putting on, you know, not a fantastic stream or just a very average stream. She went out of her way and just let, you know, something natural come out. It was great, and just gave an example where even though she has got great natural abilities at a certain type of stream, is not afraid to change things up and do things differently. And of course now, if I feel I have a monopoly on camless historical streams with nice voices, now that Jessie Quill has entered that market, I would like to announce my retirement tonight. No, just kidding. But yeah, absolutely fantastic streamer. I know I always take a lot of time to talk about her in the stream, but I hope longtime viewers of the stream will also notice that I very rarely say, I will maybe say certain comments the same way twice, and I think these are because these are highlights that are worth watching about her. But you'll notice that the general stories and the general qualities that I talk about will change a little bit each time, and that is because she is somebody who is consistently growing as a streamer, somebody who is a great model of the potential that this platform has. And so, as always, I think it's very easy to just say, you know, follows are free, follow those people and things like that. I'll also tell you that my experience as a viewer has sometimes been that I don't want to follow too many people because I don't like getting that many notifications. That's changed a little bit now that I've streamed. I actually like having a lot of people that I follow because that, one, lets me keep current in terms of what people are doing, but also, two, gives me some ideas in terms of people that I could maybe host. But let's say you were like me when I started off on Twitch and wanted to keep a very small number of follows. One of the reasons why I spend so much time talking about streamers like Wedgie and Jessie Quill are RIP System Shock Sneeze. It was a good run. Yeah. Jessie Quill is, again, as I said, one of these examples of how far you can go with a Twitch stream. And so if you are not following her already, shame on you. No. No, if you're not following her already, I think you are doing yourself a tremendous favor by doing that. And in fact, I think if you want an example of a stream that, you know, will get your friends into Twitch who maybe wouldn't watch it themselves, hers is the stream to go to. And as I said, there's a lot of different reasons for me to say nice things about her. She's a great person, again, both on and off cast. I'm very proud to call her a friend. And she is extremely entertaining. But I think one of the best and I mean also gave the advice for the stream. But I think to take all of these qualities, my self-interest aside, she is one of those people who the people who cast on Twitch, when they go offline, they're going to be watching her. When somebody is new to Twitch and they want to see what it's about, she will give you a very good overview in terms of some of the things that make this platform great. And you also get that great experience of watching a already talented caster grow and develop over time. So, that's it for Jessie Quill. If I haven't gotten you to follow her by now, you're just going to have to go and check out the channel and see why I'm... First of all, to see that I'm not making this all up. But to see why I probably have only captured a small slice of the wonderful cast that is hers. So, all right, the economy view. One of the reasons why I think this is an underappreciated screen is you have a few different options in terms of what you can use your advisors for. I won't go into the advisors right now. But you can make some certain decisions in terms of where you're going to focus your resource collection. And so there's not a very direct or clear way in terms of how you can maximize the returns. And so what I should be doing and what I've started doing now is actually going to the economy tab to help me guide my decisions in terms of where I should put that particular advisor. The nice thing is that you only have one such advisor, so there could maybe be an argument in terms of just really developing up one area and then just slowly expanding the rest of it. I still need to think a little bit about that particular approach. But the economy view is actually going to be something that allows you to to make those decisions simply and easily. And it's also a nice way of highlighting a certain feature of the map system. It's not just the visual information in terms of the color coding, but if I want to see what I get in terms of revenues, I can see here that the tax income is 95.4. I'm not sure if this is because I have my steward on it or that's just what naturally comes out. The next richest, Remus, 59.2. So as you can see, a very significant jump in terms of the value. And then if I want to go to some of my poorest provinces, or counties rather, I've got 22.6. And then of course we want to see the barbarian lands to the east. You've got 1 for tax income. This is a nice little idea in terms of, 1 in your realm, where do you want to be focusing your specialists? But you might also want to make certain decisions like, okay, I want to take some territory from the Byzantine Empire. They're weak right now. I've got a number of different bordering territories. So if I take Neapolis, well, that's got a tax revenue of 39. I also have the option of taking Rajan, which has got 47.7 tax income. And let's say that all other considerations were equal. Just by taking the second to go to this particular window, I am able to... by going to this particular window, I'm actually able to divide the world in an intelligent way and make some war decisions that maybe aren't obvious from the start. Chalk is the best complementer in the world? Well, it's helpful when people give you good source material. If I streamed like Akadak, I wouldn't. Shut up, Akadak. I didn't say that. Jesse Quill, actually, I know I definitely gave the other casters a bit of a short shrift when it comes to the descriptions. But I wanted to take a minute to tell that Jesse Quill story, just specifically because it was so current. And I think it's... I don't know, it just reflects something I've been thinking about in terms of Twitch on its own. So I know, like, as a whole, I will definitely say it's probably because she has nice eyes. There is definitely the impress the lady factor that probably will drive more compliments. But I mean, Weebro's got a fantastic beard for stroking. No, I mean, I definitely go quite heavy in terms of complimenting Jessie Quill, but I'll also say, like, she's somebody who I've gotten to know a bit better since joining Team Panda, and so it's a little bit more for me to draw from. It's somebody who I spend a lot of time in terms of her stream, but I think the important thing too is that when I make a recommendation for people on Twitch, it's not just enough for me to say it's like, well, hit their follow button, right? I want to talk about Weebro and his talent at presentation and the care that he puts into things like motion graphics. I want to talk about Wedgie and his modding, and I want to talk about how every nice part of his personality has been demonstrated through, the way that he behaves on stream. Because I think it's important, especially in a time where it feels like a lot of I'll say, like, the word of mouth advertising. You always expect paid advertising to be, over the top. But even in person now, a lot of the word of mouth tends to be quite hyperbolic. Everything is the best ever. Well, that can't be true by definition, right? So how do I cut through an environment in which everything is the best ever? Well, the answer to that is I want to make sure that I speak as clearly as I can, as specifically as I can, and to speak from the heart. So in that sense, especially because I've spent some time in Jessie Quill's channel, and it's something that, if I would like to have a model in terms of a way that I'd like a channel to work, I would definitely say that hers is that. So I think in that case, it may be a slight unfair advantage to, in terms of compliments, because certainly there's a lot of very talented people out there who are deserving of kind words, and I'd like to give them as often as I can. But with that in mind, I also certainly know that the words are not wasted in the case of her stream, because she really is that good. Switch to mobile, how many compliments did you miss in the past 2 minutes? Thank you for saying so, Oswald the Lucky. I am deeply grateful for having you in the channel. Clearly, of all of the people named Oswald the Lucky in this channel, you are the luckiest and the Oswaldest that I could have. Thank you for stopping by. All right. Akakadex says, what I appreciate most about Jessie Cole's streams is she makes no bones about being a work in progress. But over these months I've watched her stream, I've noticed how much she's grown and evolved as a streamer. Seeing that all success is really impressive, especially when you factor in that there's so much more to come from her. Yes, and also worth mentioning that, of course, she has got no less of a busy schedule than I do. I always complain about school, but she has been able to stream more consistently and with higher quality. You know, balancing a full-time work effort at a job that doesn't seem to always appreciate her contributions. So, definitely one of those people who you watch and learn that it's very hard. It's very hard to have excuses after watching. Anyways, moving beyond the economy view. We've got some pretty familiar divisions. This is, remember how I was talking about the difference between de jure, so this would be by law, and de facto? Well, these would be the de jure duchies. So if you want the de jure counties, well, congratulations. You know, you will always see them. There is no way to change the boundaries of the counties. But if you want to see the de jure duchies, here they are. So in this case, you know, you have Toulouse, Gascon, Aquitaine, all of these different areas. And so you'll notice that they consist of 2 or more counties. If you are the owner of that particular duchy, you become the Duke of whatever. So if you want to be the Duke of Toulouse, the king needs to create the title and bestow that upon you. De jure kingdoms, the thing I was looking at before, or looking for before. So we've got Aquitaine, West Francia, Middle Francia, East Francia, Bavaria, Burgundy, Lombardy, Brittany. What is this? Breda? No, that can't be it. Frisia. Saxony, and we will very slowly start incorporating Andalusia into, yikes, sorry guys, I've got a massive cramp. I'm just gonna need to take a second and not talk. I stretched something pretty bad. All right, sorry about that, guys. Thank you. So done with work right now? Yeah, no, I'm good, guys. I just needed a second. I have a tendency to swear uncontrollably if I'm in a mild amount of pain. So just wanted to take a moment and not offend your sensibilities. Can't you just live 50 years in the future where our robots do all our work for us? Well, I mean, that's happening already. I don't know. I mean, I think there is something to be said. Like, I have had a period where I wasn't working for a while. I had some savings set aside, so it wasn't like I was destitute. But I actually felt really worthless. I think I need to be doing something. But with that in mind, there are definitely more rewarding types of work than others. And it's very hard to get the rewarding type and maybe fill the financial obligations that you're looking for. Your sensibilities, you're not a Jane Austen wallpaper NPC. I haven't turned on the mature language filter. Jay does need that done emote. Yeah, so whose emote is that? Let me just take a look. I have never seen Pwned by a Chick 69, but that's a fantastic name. Alright, so one thing I'll just draw your attention to is notice how that there's some weird lines over East Francia. In this particular case, it's actually being incorporated into a realm. This will actually happen. So even though I was talking about de jure laws, there is actually a point where certain territories, like these borders, will change over a period of time. When you hold something for long enough, that becomes sort of part of your holdings. And so in this case here, because the King of I actually gave this land to the King of Saxony, this is actually moving from the Kingdom of Aquitaine, which doesn't exist right now. And if I let this go on long enough, it will actually become part of the Kingdom of Saxony. I'm not especially worried about that, but it is actually a way of kind of messing up the map and potentially giving control to things that you don't want people to have. Another example of de jure would be a de jure empire. So in this case, some elements of Germania are becoming part of the Holy Roman Empire because, of course, Germania doesn't exist, and the Holy Roman Empire does. Hispania, Byzantine Empire, a lot of these should be fairly familiar. Maybe Tartaria isn't that familiar, but Russia certainly is. Scandinavia, Britannia. It does tend to take a lot of the Roman names, although, of course, the Arabian and the Persian Empire are certainly not Roman names. And then you've got 3 empires in India. You've got Rajasthan, the Bengal Empire, and the Deccan Empire, none of which I'm familiar with because I'm really not that good with my history. She just changed her name to Chick6. She recently rebranded herself. Pretty kick-ass gal, actually. She mostly does Call of Duty, although she's pretty hardcore into Destiny right now. Everybody is. Total badass attitude. She's pretty damn skilled at FPS. I should check it out then. Started her own clan and all that jazz. Tons of respect for her. How's it going, Real Skeleton Killman? Yes, indeed. It is question and answer time. I've got no questions yet, but I have answers if anybody asks them. I am trying to sort of guide people through Crusader Kings 2. There's a couple of people who I knew were interested. I know Mantron said that he was interested in checking out Crusader Kings 2, and if he decides to stop by, I definitely would like it to be a stream sort of geared towards getting people into this game. I also have a friend who picked up this game, and I try to bug him to stop by the Twitch channel. I have no idea if he is. Jonathan, if you're here, let me know. But I figured because I was going to try and do a little bit more new player friendly material, it's one thing for me to sort of talk about the way that I think about the game. We haven't done any gameplay at all. We've just been talking about other streamers and the various screens. But I thought I would take a very granular view in terms of how I make decisions, how I inform myself about what's going on, and because I have a tendency to speak at length about things that I maybe think are valuable, I wanted to keep the floor open for questions and answers, because what I find important to the game may not necessarily be the same for others. Jesse Quill, why do I play this game? That's a fantastic question, actually, which I will put some time into. I'm just going to take a look in here. Would you possibly be interested in a Rainbow Six Siege beta code? Well, I mean, the question and answer is specific to the game. So, Real Skeleton Killman, my suspicion is that Rainbow Six Siege is going to be a PC-only title, and my PC is probably not good enough for... is probably not good enough for the for that particular game. But if you are looking to get rid of it, I am not going to dictate what you can do with that code. But if you are looking to get rid of it, there may be somebody in the channel who's interested. And if you are wanting to do some kind of a giveaway or a random draw, I certainly have a tool to conduct a random draw. So by all means, if you are interested in doing that, let me know. I think I would not... I am definitely interested in that game, but unless they have a Mac version, I'm probably not going to be able to play it. So it's an extremely kind offer of you, but I have a feeling that that would be a waste of your code. Red Pain wants to know why I don't play this game, so... Just let me know, Real Skeleton Killman, if you want. Obviously, please do not feel obligated because you've asked inside chat. I'm sure you have friends who are interested in playing that game as well. But if you find yourself at loose ends trying to sort out what to do with that, I'm certainly happy to help you find a home for it. Yeah, by all means, Skeleton Kill Man. I'm sure it looks like a really fun game, so I suspect you'll have no shortage of takers. Okay, Just Equal. I certainly don't want to ignore your question, but I want to take a minute to prepare myself. So, there's actually quite a few reasons why I play this game. One of the things that I can say in terms of my gaming history is that one of the earliest games that I played was the Civilization series. And I remember, like, I was very, very little. We've always had a computer in the house. Or had a computer in the house. I'm certainly not living at home. And I can remember once I actually first played Civilization when it wasn't just that I wasn't at a friend's house. It was actually friends of my parents. They had like all older kids. So like they were out, doing what real people do. And so we were kind of left to our own devices. Now, it was really cool because it was a very well-off family. So they had like a little small pinball arcade that they were building. But they also had a computer. And I mean, I've always loved computer games since I was a kid. I actually had a somewhat substantial period in my life where I didn't play any video games. But short of that, I've always loved video games. And I've always liked trying things out. And whenever there's been a computer, whether it was my house, somebody else's house, if I ever had a chance to get my hand on that thing and play games, I would do it. And they had Civilization, and there was just something about it that looked really interesting. I had no idea what the hell was going on. I played Egypt because I was fascinated by Egypt at the time. I probably made no progress, but there was just something about it. I had never seen a game that complicated before, and like all of the stuff, even if you don't know a lot about history, to see the great works, right? To see the pyramids, to see the wonders of the world. That's just something that, there's always something compelling about that. I don't think that's ever going to change. I think people are always going to be fascinated by things like that. So, my parents are obviously going to be thrilled to have some device through which, their son, who probably should be focusing more on real things and is spending a little bit too much time in front of the computer, if there's a way of getting something that appears to be educational, they're going to do it. So sure enough, we wind up with a copy of Civilization. And remember, these are the old... I was quite young, so like this is an old version of the game where, games still came in boxes and... like you'd get stuff in the box. So in that case, they had like a big map of the technology tree. And I was like fascinated by this thing. Is like, I didn't know this was in the game. Oh my God. Well, I didn't say, oh my God, but like, this is so cool. I could like seeing that technology tree was just, it blew my mind. What game has a technology tree like that? What have I gotten myself into? This is going to be the most awesome game ever. Right. Now, the thing that was fantastic about Civilization, I still think this is one of the greatest features of any game. And I think Civilization has always done this, no matter what version of the game, is again, the depiction of information. So in this case, how do you learn how to play the game? Well, there's a manual for sure. But if you want to know something specific about a unit, you go to the Civilopedia. Now, the Civilopedia has game mechanics inside of it. And again, like, I'm really little, right? So I'm not going to fully appreciate all of the details, and especially because the older Civilization games had some features that were simplified in later games. So I'm definitely not, like, engaging in any kind of super deep strategy or anything like that. But, I still want to sort of work my way around it. So... alongside the rules of the game, you have got history. And so, indirectly, as I'm learning this game, I am also seeing this great canvas of history and what these things were. So, what is a hoplite? How is that different from a spearman? Because they look like a spearman. Oh, well, I get to find out that they were an ancient Greek and Macedonian unit. It was actually unique to that culture, and it was actually an extremely effective soldier. There is a reason why you hear the stories of 300 Spartans, and it's not just the special effects that allowed them to do what they did. That battle actually happened, and they were really good at what they did. So, yeah, Oswald the Lucky. I remember Oregon Trail being on a lot of the school computers. Yeah. Oh, Sir Wedgie, are you talking about some of the old BioWare RPGs? I've never actually had one myself, but somebody showed me, I think, what was the game called? Icewind Dale? Somebody showed me like a map of Icewind Dale that they had. That is... I feel like I've missed out. It was a Leonard Nimoy voice that turned you on with it. Leonard Nimoy did the voice for... Oh my god. I had no idea. Did Leonard... Okay, I'm gonna have to check this out. I mean, he's such an appropriate name. Or sorry, an appropriate actor for that. But yeah. Anyways. I still haven't explained why I'm playing Crusader Kings 2. To give you an idea of the impact that Civilization had, since I was little, would sneak out of bed when I should have been sleeping to go on and play some more Civilization. And to this day, the release of a new Civilization game has always meant that I would do at least one all-nighter with that game. Civilization 5 came out, did an all-nighter with it. Beyond Earth came out, did an all-nighter with it. That has always happened with all of the Civilization games. Now, that's a very, very high bar to hit, and I've had lots of different interests in gaming since then, right? I was really into Counter-Strike for a while. I still like Counter-Strike. I really like Dota now. I think maybe one thing that isn't appreciated as much about my gaming is that I am actually quite a big fan of first-person shooters. I just don't stream them a lot. But what I stream, even though a lot of my gaming time has now become my streaming time, I still have a difference in terms of the games that I like to stream and the games that I like to play. Although I certainly don't stream games that I don't enjoy playing. If I stopped liking Crusader Kings, I would stop playing Crusader Kings. But I don't think that's going to happen because I think there's a lot of richness to this game. Where Leonard Nimoy did Civilization 3. That's cool. When you were like 4 or 8 years old, you had an old computer and your dad had one of those little joysticks and you used to mess around on Star Wars-ish game that he had. I gotta wonder what Star Wars game it is. I played a lot of the old LucasArts games, so what was one of the... I had it like on DOSBox or something like that. There's a TIE Fighter one, but it was a sequel to X-Wing. But I also remember there was like this one, I saw this like wireframe version where you were actually going through, I think it was supposed to be the Death Star or something like that. But yeah. MOBAs and FPSs make you salty though, you can't picture a salty System Shock. Oh, it happens, Oswald. But yeah, so to get back to Jesse Quill's question, so, I mean, Civilization is very much a gold standard for me in terms of gaming experiences. So, now I get into a question in terms of why I play this game. And in fact, one thing that makes Crusader Kings 2 unique is one of the reasons why I started playing this game was because it was a game that I started playing this on stream. And one of the original driving forces of Twitch for me was to share that experience of learning. And in one sense, Civilization 5 was about learning for me, but that was a very individual and a very personal experience. And then if you look at the sort of games that I stream here, you've got Kerbal Space Program, you've got Besiege, now you've got Crusader Kings 2. And Crusader Kings 2 is kind of unique in this sense because it's a very complicated game that I learned how to play on stream with you guys. So if you go back to my first Crusader Kings 2 streams, I did the tutorials before, so I wasn't completely lost. But I can definitely remember a time where I did not know how to function in this game. So, part of the reason why I play this game is specifically because it's one that rewards me in terms of giving me things to talk about, new things to learn. which I think is particularly good for the type of stream that I do. But that's sort of a half answer. Because again, I did say, it's one thing for me to talk about what I stream, but I did say that I wouldn't stream games that I didn't have fun playing. So why does somebody play a complicated game like this? TIE Fighter Trench Run was in arcades when you were a younger man. Best freaking game ever. You don't remember what it was. You just remember it being the spacey shooter. MS-DOS games. Whatever this DOS makes you think of DDoS. Oswald the Lucky, I tried Dwarf Fortress, but I couldn't make heads or tails of it, and I hadn't played Crusader Kings 2 yet, so I don't know anything about it. Sorry, I know about Dwarf Fortress. I can't say I have played it. But you better believe that is on the list of games that I'm going to be playing. Maybe I'll stream it. Man, that would be a neat one. System Shock learns Dwarf Fortress on stream. Need to buy a Steam. Why do you need a wallet card so you can add people on Steam? Alright. Jesse Quill's answer. Or rather, my answer to Jesse Quill. So, I think one thing that interests me about Crusader Kings 2, and one of the reasons I like playing it, is that if you think about gaming, there are actually very few games that are not afraid to show their complexity. Dwarf Fortress is one of them. But Crusader Kings 2 is a game that I think makes no apologies for being very big and very complicated, but also giving you the tools that you need to manage that complexity. And I think as long as you can buy in on the complexity, the rewards of this game, and the biggest thing that I get out of it are sort of the emergent stories that come from it. So for instance, when I was playing my last playthrough, I had a family member who announced that they wanted to go off and join a holy order, which meant that they sort of disinherited themselves from any claims on land that they had. And a few generations go by, and it was the House of Rose, so they're all busy killing and screwing each other. And it's like 2 kings later, and I meet somebody on the road to Jerusalem. This is like a randomly generated event. And it's that same family member. It's like his long-lost cousin who is now an extremely old man. And they build a friendship over the course of that trip to Jerusalem. Now that, there's nothing in the game that says that that has to happen. And yet this old this old connection with the family. In fact, that guy actually wound up helping out in a war, which I don't think a lot of people know because I didn't actually mention it on the cast at the time. But that guy actually came, and that friendship resulted in military support as well. Not a huge amount, but it still meant something. So there's no way to plan that, right? But the game gives you enough that stuff like that will happen. And so you think about some of the things that people like in terms of a lot of their classic games especially, right? So you look at The Legend of Zelda, and especially people who are still unfamiliar. I mean, gaming has become a lot cooler now, right? So, everybody's got a game on their phone or something like that. And so as a result, and, I think this started with the Nintendo Wii and the DS, people who were non-gamers started gaming more often. Like, I can remember some of my friends picking up DSs specifically so they could play the Brain Age game. So, I guess gaming has become more respectable than it was before. But think about the reaction that somebody would have seeing Legend of Zelda when it first comes out. By the way, I've never played a Legend of Zelda game, but it gets streamed enough that I know what's going on. Now, somebody looks at that, and you can't blame them for saying that this is just a big pile of pixels. Why would anybody want to waste their time on something as silly as this? And yet, I think to the person playing that game, there's more going on there. This is kind of coming back to childhood and going into strange places and seeing what's going on in them, right? I think the designer talked about really enjoying as a child going into different caves and seeing what was happening. And I think I think that's reflected. I haven't experienced the game individually myself, but I think there's some truth to that, and I think that's reflected in its design. Like it didn't surprise me to learn that this is what the developer was doing when they created The Legend of Zelda. So when you play a Nintendo game, when you play some of these older games, or let's take that Star Wars game that we were talking about in chat, wireframe ships and things like that, it doesn't look anything like what it's trying to portray. And yet to the person playing that game, it's a really special moment. You're living those exciting final moments of the first Star Wars movie. And you're going down the trench, and you're going to be the one who blows up the Death Star. You're the one going through the cave trying to save the princess. You're Samus Aran, the mercenary in the really cool armor, taking out these alien Metroid things. And there's something more than just witnessing a pack of colored blocks, right? We don't like gaming because it's a bunch of Legos on a screen, and the Legos became smaller and the processors got better, so we're able to put more Legos and assemble them into higher fidelity images. There's some imagination that's happening there, right? So it's, I'm not going to say it's so obviously the book has the greatest sort of capacity for the imagination, because you're taking those characters on a page and you're turning that into that experience. And yet I think there's still that impulse, especially to people who play a lot of retro games, that there's still a little bit more than just directly experiencing what you see on the monitor. And so again, when you're going down into the cave, you're having, even if you don't sort of imagine like a full cave or something like that, that is the experience that you're having. You're translating that real life experience into something that can be consumed and appreciated for what it is in that digital form. So the thing about Crusader Kings 2, I talked about those emergent stories and that's a way. Somebody just did something that I have no idea what. I just gotta wait for my dashboard to update. Thank you to whoever. Mr. Pringleman, thank you very much for hitting that follow button. I know there's not a lot of gaming content happening right now. I will definitely be doing Crusader Kings 2 the game and a little bit of Q&A, but believe it or not, this is actually related to the game itself. I am trying to explain the impulse behind why people play games like this. But it's a very indirect way, so I appreciate your patience and showing that support, even though I'm not necessarily doing what people associate with Crusader Kings 2 streams. But yeah, so when I'm talking about the experience of playing, an older style, I bring out the retro games specifically because it's a little bit easier. Like if you look at something like BioShock Infinite, that is a great looking game, and so I think lay people can appreciate something like that. They can say, oh wow, this is like watching an interactive movie. I can kind of see why people are into this. Oh, thank you, Mr. Frinkleman. And thanks for speaking up. I know not everybody, there's definitely quite a few lurkers, some regular lurkers, and I definitely don't want it to feel like people are not appreciated. But I remember a time when I used to try and say hi to everybody when they came in, and I actually scared some people off when I was doing that. So I always appreciate it when people speak up in chat, because it gives me a chance to say their name individually and to thank them. So, and naturally, if you would like me to take the minute to acknowledge you, I'm definitely grateful to have you there, and I would relish the opportunity to say that to you individually. But I will also say, when I go on Twitch myself, I don't always actively participate in chat, and I would never expect somebody else to do so. So, but as always, I always like it when people mention something in chat. So, Mr. Pringleman, that gave me a chance to say hello. Thank you for that support, and thank you for your kind words. I always appreciate it. Funnily, you don't expect gameplay of this from me because you've never really seen me do much of it anyways, Skeleton Killman. Well, we have, I mean, it's worth remembering, we did start in 769. Like, we have played almost 100 years of gameplay in this game. But I know the last couple of casts have been very talk-heavy. And I think it is worth establishing why a game like this is worth playing. So, we will get to the gameplay in a bit. So, again, we, to go back to it's not exclusive to the retro titles, but I think it is best illustrated through the retro titles. And in the end, people, I think, especially people who love playing games, I think the reason why some people don't play games and don't get the same experience that maybe you and I do out of gaming is because there isn't that imaginative step being taken. There isn't that point where I've got that investment in what's happening and the game is becoming more than just information being displayed to me on a screen where, you know, there's always the interactivity level, right? I'm giving an input so that I can select this province. I'm moving my mouse wheel so I can move out. Like that, clearly there is some investment on me there, but the emotional and the intellectual investment is me taking a randomized event and saying, holy cow, it's my long-lost, you know, cousin who renounced his worldly possessions to go and fight for holy orders. I can't believe I'm seeing this guy again. This is so cool. You know, if the House of Rose is just a collection of data, you don't have that experience. If, on the other hand, you're the kind of person who sees a pixelated dungeon and says, I might die here, or this is where I need to get X object, you know, this is where I'm going to make my fortune, you know, or play Monaco, you know, one last job. If you're the kind of person who likes those kinds of stories and gets something out of going that extra step and, you know, and making that game have a little bit of a life of its own, I think Crusader Kings 2 rewards that quite a bit. I need a gaming talk show? Yeah, maybe I should change this to gaming talk shows. If people don't like... I mean, I don't mean to sound ungrateful about it, but if people don't like the commentary, there are I can definitely tell you there are other Crusader Kings 2 streams that do not talk. So, I think there might be a better match there. But yeah, I am actually, I noticed Peasant, or Nick the Peasant on Twitch, is streaming right now. I'm going to try doing a podcast with him at some point. So there is actually going to be some gaming talk show elements coming in. I don't even know if Jesse Quill is still here, but at least I can finish talking about what drives me to play Crusader Kings 2. So these emergent moments are one thing that I like. And then I talked about the complexity of the game. The complexity of the game fuels those emergent events as well. You love the commentary? Please don't stop. I'm never going to stop the commentary, Mr. Pringleman. If I don't talk, I don't have a cam, right? So if I stop talking, there is no way to verify if I am just a bad AI playing this game or if I am, you know, a human being. So if I get a cam, I can maybe justify not speaking. By the way, I will never improve anything by having my face on it. So don't worry, there's no cam coming. But yeah, I mean, my words are my ammunition. That's never going to change about this stream. It means I can't play certain games, but Crusader Kings 2 gives me a chance to talk. But the last thing that really appeals to me about this game, again, whether or not Jesse Quill is still here or whether or not this is just for the benefit of people who want to know why Crusader Kings 2 is worth playing, is finally that this is a game, you know, there's the educational elements, which kind of bring me back to those early moments of gaming with Civilization 5 that appeal to me. I can't say I've learned as much history, although there is still some flavor text that's brought into these games. So you learn a little bit of history, and one thing that's great about this game is that if there is a historical figure, there is actually a Wikipedia link. Although I would recommend for this kind of history, I strongly recommend you should be able to access the Encyclopedia Britannica through your local library. If you can't, you may actually be able to access some of the relevant articles through, just through the main encyclopedia. It's not all completely behind a paywall. Now, I'm not going to be one of those people who says, don't put anything into Wikipedia. Like, there's been a journal in, I can't remember if it was Nature or Science, but they actually did the comparison between just like a proper encyclopedia and a Wikipedia, and they didn't necessarily find any particular systematic distortion. Maybe you disagree with the study, but I mean, whether it was Nature or whether it was Science, it was in one of the top journals. I mean, anybody wants to get into one of those journals. So if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. But one of the reasons why I recommend the Encyclopedia Britannica articles rather than Wikipedia in this case is one of my great dilemmas in trying to study history has been to get good reference material. And so the virtue of Britannica in this case is that they actually have a very, very good section. I think the best example here would be to look at the Charlemagne article. Scroll down to the bottom, and you'll actually see a great list of reading, which are not just sources, and it's not just further reading with no context, but it actually says, if you're interested in this, read this book. If you're interested in that, read this book. I think that's a great feature. I really wish more knowledge resources would have it. And so in that case, I think it's cool that any game is including Wikipedia links when it has historical content, because one of the great rewards to me is being able to learn this stuff. But, that's this is one specific moment where I actually do recommend the Britannica over Wikipedia. And it's not an elitist reason. It's purely because I think it is actually a better learning resource in this particular case. I'm just going to take a second. I'll respond to more stuff in chat here, but I'm getting close to the end to the answer to Jesse's question. And although, as Skeleton Killman says, it is fun, but of course, how do I explain a game like this is fun to somebody who might be more skeptical. But I am definitely very attracted to games that are about things, and in the end, this is a game about power. And it's about how you can still be the head of an empire, but that doesn't mean that you get to do what you want. You can think about a country like China, which is, very famously an authoritarian regime, and you look at the behavior of the current president and this big anti-corruption campaign that he's going on, but you'll also notice that the primary target tend to be political opponents. People in his faction, for lack of a better term, tend not to be targeted by these kinds of things. And, sort of the cult of personality that he's developing and things like that. There are definitely ways to gain and lose power. And even in a country where, in principle, if you're the leader, everything you say goes, the fact of the matter is that there is an entire structure that allows that to happen. And Crusader Kings 2 is clearly about history, but the kinds of dynamics going on, the way that they've been able to translate sort of our ideas of power into a game that allows you to make some decisions and manage a realm. There's really not a lot of comparable games that I can think to that. So in addition to the fact that I get to tell this big sweeping history story of whatever dynasty that I'm playing, I just think there are ideas that really appeal to me that are going on in this game. It gives me a chance to learn about a part of history that I don't know that well. To make my mark on that history. And again, all of it stems from the complexity and yet the ability to demonstrate or to deliver that information in some very efficient ways that will allow me to inform my decisions. And so, in some ways, it lets me think about how a game works. It lets me sort of think about the ideas that are underlying some of the design decisions behind it. Again, these are specifically the power elements. And then finally, it rewards my irrepressible imagination Every time I want to know about, someone, some character that comes out of nowhere and does something fun, I've got a story for that. And it's a gaming experience I really can't get anywhere else. So even though I have some big issues with the developer, they really do have a one-of-a-kind game, and that's the reason why I play it. I hope that answers your question. Alright, RPG games are the best. That's why you enjoy the Paper Mario games. Never played those, but I will... If they're available for Wii, I'll check them out. The Thousand Year Door is a lot of fun because of it. I've never even heard of the Thousand Year Door, so it looks like I'm getting a few good recommendations here. Red Pain, what was the first Civ game that you played? I believe the one that I played in my my parents' friend's home was actually Civilization 2, because I remember it being very, very primitive. I don't believe that is the first one that I owned, though. I think for the longest time, in fact, I might even argue it's still my all-time favorite game. I'll actually say Alpha Centauri was or is it Centauri? I never know. I actually think Alpha Centauri was a really fantastic game. So, you know what? I really need to make sure that I explain what I'm doing rather than just click on this stuff. So I'll do a little bit of gameplay in a second. But yeah, so I actually believe the first one that I played was Civilization 2, but I seem to remember there being a difference between the game that originally interested me and the game that I spent a lot of time with. So, I mean, you need to appreciate I was very young at the time, right? Like, I know I was playing Civilization, but what Civilization I was playing is something of a matter of conjecture. But I'm pretty sure the one that I played at that house was Civilization 2, because there's a very distinct look to it. And I don't believe there was like a really long time between... Oh, you know what? That might explain it, because I know there was like ages between Civilization 2 being made and like an actual sequel from the same people. Like Activision had a Civilization game, didn't they? Somebody can correct me. I know I'm almost certain that there was a non-Sid Meier Civilization game made. And I remember like reading a review for it and it was terrible. I mean, maybe it was good, but the review I read said that it wasn't very good, so... Yes. There was like an Elvis advisor on the one that I played at the parents' friend's house. And Mr. Pringaman, you completely agree with the story element of this game that you were talking about. AARs of CK2 are the absolute best. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the biggest appeals to me, to be completely honest. Like, so for instance, in this game, I was playing Charlemagne, but Charlemagne died too early. He didn't create the Holy Roman Empire. And he died without a son. And so his brother's son, Pepin, inherited the kingdom, and he was the one to create the Holy Roman Empire. And so already built in, if you know a little bit of history, you have a situation not unlike Augustus, where you have Julius Caesar creating the foundations of the empire, but Augustus ultimately being the one to make the empire as we know it, to be the first emperor. And so whether or not you actually, whether or not you want to read it that way, there's no paradox representative that's going to come to you and say, hey, did you know this? Maybe you can interpret it this way. This is entirely something that you bring into the game. But it's rewarding. And, whether you do that through an RPG like Real Skeleton Killman, obviously I love hamming up the voice acting in Shadowrun Hong Kong. However you do that is up to you. But in my case, because history provides such a fascinating canvas, and I'm really looking forward to the next time that I read a part of A Little History of the World, because we will actually be talking about the Middle Ages, and I think it will provide some great context to what's happening in this game. But you know, whether you get that impulse through playing some Legend of Zelda game, or whether you get that through playing, you know, a more modern RPG like Shadowrun, I think as long as you have had that moment, you've had that moment where it's not just a you know, like a computer, you know, a computer program that you're interacting with, where you have become invested in that game. As long as you've had that experience at least once, I think you can take that from your own self and appreciate that when somebody looks at this, it's not just an Excel spreadsheet of stats, but this is a person. It's a representation of a person when you play the game. But that experience of me sitting at the keyboard and interacting with that game, or this game, is what gives me that extra step. Red Pain, I'm gonna Google search this after the cast, but I am actually pretty sure that there was one non-Sid Meier Civilization game, because I really loved Alpha Centauri, and I believe the reason that game was made was because they didn't have the rights to make another Civilization sequel. But I claim that without evidence, so I'll have to get back to you on that. All right. So I'm going to talk about gameplay mechanics, but let me catch up on chat. So there are 4 of them. Paper Mario is on Wii VC. Thousand Year Door is on GameCube, so it will work on Wii. Fantastic. Super Paper Mario is a Wii game itself, but Paper Mario Sticker Star is on the 3DS. I don't have a 3DS, but I definitely have the other console. Paper Mario and Paper Mario TTYD are a lot alike, but it went downhill with Super Paper Mario, and Sticker Star is definitely the worst. Okay, well, it's good that I don't have the system for the worst one. That doesn't mean they're bad, but you still enjoyed all of them. Oh, not a problem, Skeleton Kill Man. I like detail. I'm very verbose myself, both in my writing and my speaking. But as long as I'm getting the information that I needed, that's what counts. So I always appreciate the recommendations. So ostensibly, this stream is about getting people into the game, trying to let them know. Oh, by the way, given the fact that Jessie Quill hasn't responded, I'm thinking she's probably gone to do something else. But if she comes back, I will give you tips for how to compliment a lady. Because I feel that this is something that needs to be said. Alright. So, we've gone through the custom game setup. We have gone through... Oh, you know what? There's a couple more. So I'll go through the rest of the menus just for some completeness. You've got revolt risk. As you can see, not a lot of danger inside of my realm. If there's a revolt, it's most likely going to be coming from mites. It's also important to keep in mind what your neighbors are potentially going to experience. So if there is a potential revolt happening in the Byzantine Empire, I want to know that, because that's valuable information that I may be able to use to gain an advantage against my enemy. Dynasties, in this case, I think this is mostly for bragging rights. I could be missing a more useful use for it, but in this case we've got Carling. Are the compliments written? I feel they would actually defeat the purpose of a compliment if it were to be verbal. Why do you say that, Akakadak? I think you can compliment a lady verbally and make it mean something. We've got opinions a little bit similar to diplomatic relations. What is the difference? Well, in this case, we'll just mouse over it, right? So here you can actually see what all of the elements affecting these different opinions are. When we have diplomatic relations, we don't really have that. In this case, this is just talking about... actually, this is maybe where... Now that I've introduced this idea of mousing over to introduce... you know, I want, I'm thinking about invading somebody. Well, here, you know, potential target. We're actually at war, so that doesn't quite count. You know, here we've got potential target, and it sort of tells me what my different casus belli. Skunk Odor, what a guy. Skunk Odor, you will remember from earlier on, talking to in the Steam chat. So I know what game you were playing. Man, look at all of these. Look at all these names. This is fantastic. Okay, guys, I'm going to take a minute to say hello to every single one of you. Skunk Odor is a fellow Team Panda member. Somebody I was actually watching last night, although I was lurking a little bit more than actively participating. Another fantastic streamer. Again, you more or less have a blanket recommendation when it comes to Team Panda because, of course, Space Muffins, thank you so much for that follow. I appreciate it. I feel like I've seen your name before. Obviously, I will have seen you inside of Skunk Odor's channel. But welcome, and welcome back if I have not... or if my intuition is correct. Usually isn't. Let me take a minute here and say hello to all of the individual raiders. It is a very healthy host indeed, but I'm not going to let that stop me from saying hello to all those people dropping bombs in my house. So we've got Skunk Odor. Is it Cassili? Fleeming Fury, I remember you. Hacker of Drow, another fine individual who's no stranger to this cast. Finding Bonnie. Space Muffins. A Genocidal Puppy, what a name, what a player. And I think I'm back to all of the other ones on here. So guys, thank you very much for that host. Finding Bonnie, thank you very much for that follow as well. You guys are in for a very boring time. Skunk Odor is a fantastic and entertaining guy. I just have my natural vocal qualities to keep me going through here. I am playing a complicated game called Crusader Kings 2. If you would like to hear about a half-hour explanation in terms of why I find this game interesting, feel free to go on the VOD and check that out. But I have a feeling I'm going to have a small mutiny on my hands if I don't actually start giving some gameplay. So you've chosen a great day to hang out. So if you definitely feel free to stay a while if you'd like to learn about this complicated game. There's really no other game quite like it, except of course for maybe other Paradox Grand Strategy games. But even then, this game is unique amongst the Paradox titles. So this game is entirely about getting new people into the game or answering questions that people have about it. So if you are brand new to it, if you are secretly a big fan of the game and you want to know why I haven't conquered the world yet, any question goes. There are no dumb questions. I'll even consider answering questions that are not at all related to the game. But we certainly have not been talking only about Crusader Kings 2 tonight. But if you want to know more about this fancy-looking game, there's going to be heavy commentary. The action will not be fast and furious, so definitely I know that'll be a change of pace from what you normally do. There's absolutely no hard feelings. If this is not your thing, I have a very niche kind of cast, but it is fantastic to have you here, and I always love meeting new people and getting a chance to meet the fine people from Skunk Odor's chat, because I can certainly say as a Team Panda member and also as somebody who I enjoy watching myself, he attracts a very special type of Twitch viewer who I consider very privileged to have inside here. So, let's just take a look. Oh, I did say it right. That's fantastic. I sound so hype. Would I like some pizza? Sub-emote hype. Fantastic. Yes, niche cast. All right. So we spent a lot of time talking about the complexity of this game, the visual information that you'll get from them. Oh, you know what? I didn't even finish the discussion. So opinions will be about your individual interactions with each other, whereas diplomatic relations would be... Actually, I think I mixed up these two categories when I first introduced them. So diplomatic relations will talk about, you know, I can't invade Novgorod, right? But here I have got a, you know, potential target. I'm currently at war with the Byzantine Empire, the eastern half of the Roman Empire. Clearly, Islamic caliphates are fair game because they have a different religion from me, which is perfect justification for having a war. Out of all the ones you have, your favorite is... Oh, that's a cute one. You're not that special? Skunk Odor, I would say, at least as far as my experience is concerned, I've always been happy whenever I've come in to watch your cast, so you're special in my heart. Yeah, I think you're gonna have a room full of angry viewers now. For those of you looking for a new regular channel, we do this every Friday. Alright. So opinions will be about your individual interactions, either with people outside of your country or within your country. And as I was talking about, because this is a game about power and the fact that just because you are an emperor doesn't mean that your word becomes implemented the second that you think it up. These relationships are important. So again, there are other means through which you can see opinions, but this is a fantastic visual way of demonstrating them. If I felt that there was something that I needed to improve in my realm, I instantly look here. I would also note here. So, and sure enough, we've got negative 56 opinion and negative 14 opinion. So it's a very easy way of diagnosing elements of my realm that are potentially trouble spots. System Jock is too kind. I hope everybody is enjoying tonight's cast. Well, more importantly, I hope you guys enjoyed Skunk Odor's cast. I always love watching Rocket League. I know there were a few people who stopped by who said they were getting a little tired of watching Rocket League. But personally, I like personalities for streaming, but I definitely know the Rocket League streams that I've watched, I've enjoyed. Usually because it's people, it's friends who are playing. So usually when friends are playing a game like Rocket League, there's a lot of fun. There's a lot of banter that goes on. So, and Skunk Odor strikes me as the kind of guy who's good at banter. In fact, I should just outright say he's good at it, because I've seen him, but I won't draw an absolute from the small bits that I've seen. If I was able to do literally whatever you want in this game, you'd be an emperor over a bunch of corpses. Exactly, Skeleton Killman. Alright, so these last three, one of these is actually a new tab in the latest patch. These last threes probably are the least useful in the most general sense. So one is trade zones. Who controls trade in what areas? I own Genoa, so there is kind of a point of interest, except, I own Genoa. I'm not actually Genoa myself, so even then, there's not a whole lot to go on. But this is the era of Venice controls. We've got, actually, I'm somewhat surprised to see another trade group, although it mentions here exactly who it is. And in this case, Amalfi is a republic. Trade zones, to my understanding, are only ever owned by merchant republics. So in this case, you are no longer a Crusader king, but rather a Crusader Doge. But whatever you are, this is how you find out sort of who owns what as far as trade is concerned. And certainly Venice is doing a very healthy trade with lands that I own, and so it is only right that I should take their territory at some point. Don't even watch the stream. Mostly it's the chat and the atmosphere that draws you to a cast. Well, Finding Bonnie, you're in the right place, because if you haven't noticed, this is not the nicest cast to look at. You really care exactly about what's going on the screen. Yeah, Skeleton Killman, I was going to say, you've been here long enough to know that nothing happens on the screen. Alright, so we talked a little bit about trade zones. Family trade zones is slightly different. So if you play as a Merchant Republic, which I think would be a lot of fun to do for one playthrough, although I'll be playing the Horse Lords expansion the next time, so that kind of requires me to play Mongol. But in this case, family trade zones, you have rival families, not, it's not a kingdom. You don't inherit your title. You have to be elected. And so in this case, you have rival families who themselves want to become the Doge of the Most Serene Republic. And so you do actually care about family holdings if you're in a republic, simply because that will give you an indication in terms of what your rival's relative strength is. This may not be obvious, but see these sort of little curve shapes here? These are all different trading posts. So you'll notice pretty much all along my coasts, we've got trading posts from Venice. I mean, Venice previously I thought was the only merchant republic, but it actually turns out that there is another one. It's an African one. But again, not that big of a deal until I want to invade them. And then finally, we're familiar from this one from the start of the cast, there's the forms of government. So again, Ikta is the Islamic version of the feudal systems just being kings and vassals. Ireland is still tribal. We've got, of course, this massive wasteland known as Russia, which is tribal. India is feudal, and then there's a few tribal areas in Africa. We probably won't conquer Africa this time. I've got other places that I want. And so that is all the visual information that you can get out of this game, and that's just a way of dividing up the game into sensible things that you want information on. My default view is realms because generally a division of the realm of the world amongst political lines is the most useful to me. Who can I declare war on, who's declaring war on me, and so on and so forth. It's not the only view that you can have, and again, once you learn how to navigate these other menus, you'll realize that information that you can get from other menus is actually more readily accessible inside of the map. So let's talk a little bit about the information that you need to make decisions inside of this game. I just thought if you were there to work at Twitch, you would make them give you a band that says Specialist Pleb. So, who am I? I am Emperor Pepin II the Magnanimous of the Holy Roman Empire. It's worth mentioning that if you play the game in its proper form, these titles are generated by the game. I won't say they're randomly generated. There are actually specific things that will bring it up, but you can go everywhere from the lewd to the great. And as a lustful individual, I actually had a potential for the lewd, but I have been the magnanimous for quite some time, so... Lots of information here on its own. Why did I pick this on its own? Well, first of all, the most important person in the world is me, obviously. And as you can see, if you mouse over the star, this indicates that this is you. So congratulations, you are a 42-year-old man on his second wife. Is it second or is it my third wife? Second wife. By the way, how old is my wife? 17. Suck it, nerds. But we've got... Hang on. Ooh, I borrowed money. I didn't know that, actually. I'm gonna have to think about how I handle this war then, actually. Alright, that's consideration for later. Because again, it's easy. You can already see one of the problems of the complexity of the game is there's lots of different ways to sort of get distracted and think about new things. How do you get the lewd title? Well, Jesse Quill, I've got some great news for you. You've earned that on your own. No. You get the lewd title generally for having traits like lustful. If you get seducer as a focus, it's a little more likely. But you can actually go into the console and just assign the titles. I'm almost certain that if I search, I can probably find a character named the lewd. Welcome back, by the way. Jesse Quill hosting me for 5 viewers. Outstanding. I'm sorry I went on so long about my explanation about why I play this game. I promise you that I did actually finish it. But yeah, I will talk to you in private. In between all of those private photos I send you, I will give you word by word why I play Crusader Kings 2. No, that is not a problem, Jesse Quill. That's fantastic that you hosted me. We now have 3 hosts, all Team Panda members. So again, reminder guys, Skunk Odor, Jesse Quill, and Weebro, all good casters, all people you should definitely check out. If you're not following them already, I think you are doing yourself a great favor if you are. Feel free to check them out. All very different types of casters, all have great strengths in their own regards, and I have enumerated them at great length on this stream already, so please forgive me for not doing so again. But they are great folks. Private photos are his econ homework, everyone. This is true. Okay, let me see if it includes titles. Oh, that's a shame. Okay, there will be the lewd that comes up. Okay, by the way, I said if Jesse Quill came back, I would give you guys some tips for how to compliment a lady. Here is an example. I think Jesse Quill actually gave a prototypical example of the kind of compliment that somebody is going to get over Twitch. Oh my god, you are so beautiful, it's disgusting. Now, like I said, I don't have a lot of features that are going for me other than my words. My words are my ammunition, right? I come up with defects in my personality and my appearance through my words. I mean, I got a couple smarts too, but I can also be really dumb at times. So I put some thought into words and how I use them. I love, the experience of learning new words, so a great thing to do if you're not doing this already. When you run into a word that you don't know, don't get its definition from context. Look it up. The dictionary is full of really cool bits of information. That's a way that, it's another tool that you can use for the right moment. So, what are the problems behind, oh my god, you're so beautiful, it's disgusting? Well, I mean, there's the obvious, right? But the first thing I'll say, as a piece of rhetoric, it's horrifying, right? There is a word in the English language that means indescribably beautiful. It's pulchritudinous. Do you know why you never hear the word pulchritudinous? It's because it sounds awful. It sounds absolutely nothing like what it means, right? Pulchritudinous is an ugly word to mean something beautiful, which is precisely why people don't say it. But then you think of other words like love. Love just sounds cozy to say, right? Just take a minute. Love. It sounds nice. You can say that to yourself and you feel it a little bit, right? So when you are describing something beautiful, and you guys have the VODs, right? This is not an inaccurate description of Jesse Quill by any stretch of the imagination. But you do not put that sentence, or so you do not put the word disgusting in that sentence, right? Damn, girl, you fine. Let's go back to your place and storm your Bastille, when she's dressed up as an Assassin's Creed character playing Unity. That one has some sense of irony, but it's appropriate to the game. And in this case, storm the Bastille is probably not the sort of thing, okay, so, late at night, I'm not going to go and whisper to that special someone in my life, baby, let's storm the Bastille. Okay, probably not gonna work. But in the context, it has a certain humor value because, of course, I'm being a crass asshole. So, let's go full, let's just go and we'll go for broke, right? So, when describing something beautiful, do not use ugly words. Second of all, I'm pretty sure the lady knows that she's good looking. Now, that doesn't mean we should live in some horrible dystopia where beautiful people are not recognized for that. Because beauty is a wonderful trait. There should be more of it in the world. And I am very lucky that I have got some fantastic looking friends. So, You don't withhold the information. But you do also need to keep in mind that this is probably not the first time that they have heard that. And more importantly, if the source of the compliment is just the fact that you felt a little strange in those private places, well, congratulations, so did the rest of us, and we managed to keep that to ourselves. But people are inherently interesting. So, you don't just talk about the fact that someone's beautiful. We know. We get it. There's always something special, right? There is something about somebody who is beautiful that makes them beautiful. I will tell you that a very good friend of mine in Vancouver, somebody I'm actually seeing this weekend, does not like her nose. In fact, this is something I hear commonly from people, which is funny because I have never, any of the people who's ever said that, I have never looked at their nose and said, well, that looks kind of funny. And it's not like, it's not that I don't think this, about of other people. But that's fine, because I mean, that's something that is a concern for them. And I'm not going to deny them their experience there. But I will tell you, it is actually one of the things, this is somebody who I have something of a fancy of. And I've known this person for a while too. And I actually think it's an incredibly charming feature on her. So, this is what's important on a compliment like that. You find them beautiful, you find them attractive for a reason. Now, I am obviously very capable of creating a lengthy dissertation on a subject, and I think that will utterly fail to explain why this person has absolutely captured your, if not your heart, at least has captured your loins for the brief moment in which you saw them. So, the bridge here is to communicate their appearance in a way that gives some indication of how you see them, and in a way that goes from mere information, damn girl, you fine, to you're special because of this. And so, omit ugly words from descriptions of beauty. This is why we don't use pulchritudinous, and this is why saying you're so hot it's disgusting. Second of all, we know they're hot. What are you bringing to the equation? If you feel the need to speak, find that specific item that brings it in. And that, in my opinion, is how you compliment a lady. Also, Jessie Quill, you have a nice nose. But you're not, that's the Russian lady's the one I was talking about before. But you two also have a... The eyes do a little bit more, but you actually have a nice nose, even though you've said so otherwise. Alright, so let me read all this crazy chat stuff that I've got on these people here. That compliment, yeah. Someone came into chat and said that. It was sort of sweet. It hurts your brain when people use words in the wrong context. Pulchritudinous is your middle name. That word is so disgusting, yeah. It was a very cute compliment. You like it, Chalk, so thank you. I have no idea what inspired that Jessie Quill one, which for some reason I still get censored words, but... Astral Seer, hello! Sorry, I was busy ranting. I didn't get to see you before. Great to see you. Late at night. Okay. Most beauty is subjective. Yeah, Finding Body. That's why compliments that focus entirely on the subjective element work. Right? I don't need to worry about somebody's universal standard of beauty, because in the end, what should matter is the connection between two people. It's the same reason why, even if I do economic studies on big real-world problems, I try and focus on the individual as much as I can, because that's where the real information lies. Most beauty is due to societal standards imprinted on your form and your social circles, such as family, friends, school, media, etc. Yeah, Jessie Quill, but I prefer my completely non-rigorous and fancy-ass way of saying something that may or may not be true. Leave me that. And subjective. You used to hate your nose, but now you think it is adorable, and it reminds me of your dad and sister since you share the same one. That's great. Hey, 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 beautiful people. Sungeef, great to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Capture your heart or your lines. That's amazing. Thanks, Chalk. This is Learn to Compliment class by System Chalk, and the music in the background makes this monologue seem much more authoritative. Damn right! I'm the Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire. So much funny. Alright, we are all caught up. And I didn't lose too many viewers, so great. And yeah, I was actually going to say, Jesse Quill, when I mentioned the nose comment, it was funny that you had... I was thinking of my friend when I brought it up, but then I had remembered that you'd actually commented on that yourself. But I am glad that you have changed your mind about your nose. Wait, you share the same nose? Isn't that hugely impractical and kind of icky? Well, if you're next to a homeless guy, it's actually really beneficial. You just give it to a family member. Alright. How do we figure out how this world works? First thing that you get is you, because you are the most important person in the world. This is how I start. There's other places that you can begin, but this is in the end a game about a dynasty and the inheritance of the kingdom from, at this current moment, 769 AD to about 1453. And for history buffs, that means the fall of Constantinople. The game that follows this one, Europa Universalis 4, begins in 1444, so roughly around the same time, but I would argue that Europa Universalis is almost the story of France, so it sort of begins with the 100-Year War and ends with the death of Napoleon. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Sungeef, but that is a broad generalization I was using more so for the common knowledge element rather than any particular indictment on homeless. That is not a condition I would wish on anybody. What does pulchritudinous mean? Sungeef, pulchritudinous is actually an English word that means uniquely and almost indescribably beautiful. That's my own definition. That's probably not the dictionary definition of it, but it is effectively a word that is supposed to mean supreme beauty in the English language, and yet it is such an ugly word. It's why I never use it. But yeah, if you take a look at the dictionary, you'll see the definition. And it's an ugly word for a beautiful concept. Miss Cuppy Cake, how the devil are you? It's great to see you again. Now, one of the things that you'll probably notice first, because RPGs are always fun, are your stats. And I always like using this as an anchor because this is a piece of information that will translate to another menu. So, again, you've got the important things too, like I'm 42, and did I mention I have a 17-year-old wife? You've got a bunch of little side traits here that maybe don't mean a whole lot. So, for instance, I'm Catholic. Now, Catholic isn't irrelevant, but it is worth mentioning that I completely stole all of the land from the Catholics. So the Pope doesn't actually have a home. You'd recommend avoiding using that word unless she understands what you're saying. Yeah, like the thing to keep in mind too, right? I talked about how words are ammunition and how I like collecting new ones. It's specifically because if I get an opportunity to use a unique word in a way that's maybe unexpected or appropriate for that moment, that's gold. It happens rarely, but the ability to just find the right word at the moment is a borderline perverse pleasure for me. Miss Cuppy Cake is lovely tonight. I am having a great time too. I haven't done a lot of gameplay, which I don't even think I should apologize for because I hope you guys have been having as much fun as I have. But we've been talking about how to compliment the ladies. We have been talking about how to play Crusader Kings 2. I spent an eternity answering the question, why do I play this game in the first place? I created the Vatican City in 859? No, I took it, and I actually stole Rome ages ago. When you're trying to be cheesy, but every round is laugh tote and talk. God! Real skeleton kill, man. Don't make me make you my first time out. Yes, Miss Cuppy I suspect my advice is actually probably terrible. If you were to know my dating history before I gave you that advice, you would probably very rightly mute your your screen. But I did spend at least some time on the rhetoric of complimenting women on their appearance on the Twitch platform and otherwise. You missed that? You'd love to know why people play this game? No, don't. I won't time you out, Real Skeleton Kill, man. So, oh, hang on. So what about how to compliment the guys? Like, you can't just say a guy looks cute or beautiful, then their toes will curl and stuff, and they will think that you're dismissing them? I don't know, Sungif. Give it a try. You've only dated one person in your whole life? I did not know that. Don't worry too much, Chalk. You met the man you're married to in a McDonald's. Can't go much lower than that. Well, I mean, Miss Cuppy they could own the McDonald's. They could have been there to use the bathroom. Maybe a cheap coffee. There's a lot of different ways to meet somebody in a McDonald's. And if they say you look handsome, they'll think the 1950s want you back. Sungif, I am waiting for the retro thing to get to a point where I can call women dames. Kite260. Speaking of great streamers, there is another Team Panda member. I was hanging out in his channel yesterday along with Skunk Odors. This man knows entirely more about Kirby than I ever thought was possible. He's an extremely kind individual as well. Wonderful personality. Polar opposite of me. I am an asshole. Kite260 does not seem to have a malicious bone in his body, has supported so many people, has been so incredibly generous, and gave us the great gift of sharing his experience of gaming with us through his Twitch channel. I strongly recommend that you guys check out his channel. Were you streaming tonight, Kite? But yeah, this guy is outstanding. I always feel a little bit worse about myself whenever I hear about the stuff that he's done. But if we were to hold ourselves to the standards that that Kite exemplifies, I think we'd all find ourselves wanting. So not just a great guy, but a talented streamer in his own right, and somebody actually very concerned with the development of his stream. So definitely somebody who is not only a good streamer in their own right, but somebody who is putting in the effort to take their stream to a new level. Went on an old date, invited you out to a post-anime club meeting, and then introduced you to your husband. That's I have no idea why you would say it's lower than that, Miss Cuppy. First thing you asked Cubs was if your boobs look nice in your shirt. And I think I already know what the answer was. So your story is true love if you've ever heard it. Ah. Alright, I'm going to talk about Crusader Kings 2 for a bit. I'm going to invite chat, though. Share me your love stories. Weebro's in the house. Thank you so much for that, host. I don't know if you've been listening for a while, Weebro, but it is great to see your name in chat as always. But, guys, let's hear it. Pie of Reckoning, great to see you again, too. While I get a little bit of mechanics down, because I did want this to be about getting started in Crusader Kings 2, I am going to read all of your love stories when I hear them in here, or when I read them in here, but I'm going to take a minute to talk about the window for you, and when I'm done talking about the window for you, I'm going to take a look at all of your stories. So, tell me lost love, failure at love, I got lots of those. Tell me about your first crush, tell me about your current love interest. Let us hear your love stories, so we can all feel better or worse about ourselves, depending on whether you want to brag or not. Haven't because you were on mobile, but you're on the laptop at the moment. Good. All right, folks. So, most of these skills will do sort of what you think from their titles. So diplomacy is your ability to interact with individuals in a game like this. Obviously important because I was talking about how this game is about power and how you need to work with the established power structure in order to accomplish your ends. This is your ability to interact with individuals. Martial ability, of course, is the other kind of diplomacy when you just want to take what you want. This tends to be a pretty important trait in the games that I play, and so in this case I'm a bit lucky that the value is higher. For reference, usually 8 is about average. Anything above 8 is is good. So this character is generally above average in everything, and fairly talented with martial. Stewardship is your management of resources, so generally this is associated with things such as taxation, but can actually involve some things too, like managing your realm. I'll talk about domain next. Intrigue is your ability to engage in espionage and dirty tricks, so assassination is a thing in this game, especially when titles are passed through bloodlines. It tends to help if you have inconvenient relatives removed. In the end, succession laws tend to be such that you just wait for dear old mother to kick the bucket so you can inherit the kingdom. And finally, learning tends to be associated with a more of a religious trait, but actually will affect your rate of technological adoption and things like that. So in this case, you've got sort of 5 traits that will define your character. As you can see, he's particularly weak in intrigue, but generally strong in the other ones. These stats beside them in terms of the brackets indicate the state level. So in this case, this will be a combination of my spouse as well as my counselors, my advisors. I'll be able to talk about them in the next screen. So you can see that my state levels are actually high overall compared to my individual abilities. And this is just because we're a huge empire, so we have a very large talent pool to draw from. Now, some of the things that will be affecting these stats are my traits. So I grew up as an indulgent wastrel, which will lower my diplomacy but increase my stewardship. There's a little flavor text to talk about what it is. The indulgent wastrel was groomed to become good with money, and if good means spending it quickly, then the indulgent wastrel certainly is. I am a pilgrim, which will give me a little bit of piety and an attitude modifier for people who are of the same religion. I am a scholar, which will increase my learning. I am charitable, humble, diligent, brave, zealous, just, wroth, and lustful. You will notice that a lot of these traits are associated with the cardinal virtues or the deadly sins. Obviously a very big element inside of the Middle Ages. But generally these are mostly positive. So you can actually gain some bonuses. So for instance, the lustful trait costs me 1/4 of a point of piety every month, but it does raise my intrigue and does raise my fertility with my, did I mention, 17-year-old wife. So I've got a combat modifier as well. This I'm going to sort of hold off on just because this probably will make more sense when I talk about combat. And then there's a few things that can happen to you. The modifiers happen here. So religious studies is what I'm currently undergoing. Carouser is a trait that I have that improves my diplomacy. Again, that's about the ability to act with each other. And I borrowed money from Jewish moneylenders. I owe 350 wealth to them. And so my temple vassals will have a negative opinion modifier. So generally, these are the sorts of things that you will inherit or you will develop as part of your personality. And then you will be able to, you start with a certain endowment for these, but they can change based on your focus. Currently I have a carousing focus, which means I'm focused more on my diplomatic ability, but you can actually sort of choose your life priorities. So you could focus on war, you could focus on hunting, you could become a seducer. Notice that also improves your fertility and sex appeal. Maybe I want to improve my fertility, but I don't think intrigue is that important. Well, I could also take a family focus, which improves my fertility, and venereal disease isn't such a problem, so my health goes up. Stewardship would be affected by business and rulership, and then, as I mentioned, learning tends to be associated with religion, and so they're here. But you'll notice that, again, there's the association with each of the traits. There's one which will give you a raw bonus of +3, and then you have one that sort of gives you partial bonuses. So for instance, hunting, martial +2, and then you gain a bonus to health. All right, let me catch up with chat and see all of your love stories. Okay, Skeleton Killman had a girlfriend in kindergarten 9-ish years ago. My goodness, man. Take my complimenting advice and use that to extend your dry spell by another year. What did you just walk into? CK2 mend your wounds with a love story. No. By the way, I hope you feel better after your martial arts. I didn't know you did that, actually. That's really cool. I did Bartitsu for a while. Tends not to be something that people are associated with. Or, sorry, not one that people know a whole lot about. All right. Forever Alone. Got married in May. That's wonderful to hear, Miss Cuppy Cake. I hope you guys... Actually, my friends had an anniversary today. So I made sure to congratulate them. The wedding was magnificent. I don't get to go to a lot of weddings. I tend not to see a lot of weddings happen. But they're very special friends, so it's one that I make sure to mark the occasion on. Tony Loran, sorry I didn't say hi. I said I was going to explain traits and ignore chat while they told me their love stories. So I apologize for not saying hi to you right away. Welcome to the channel. Guys, Tony Loran is not just a streamer and Team Panda streamer, but actually a game developer. I get to have some interesting chats with her about game development. Somebody who's actually wound up giving me a couple of keys to games, Beyond Sol and Secret Ponchos. Secret Ponchos didn't work out as well, but Beyond Sol was quite a bit of fun. Sleepbringer betrayed me, but she is a wonderful streamer in her own right, somebody who actually lives in the same area as Weebro, and has a very unique cast in how she sets up these little factions inside of her chat. So if you guys... I was going to say, the reason to follow her alone is so you can get her special introduction to people who just join her chat for... to pick which faction you're on. In the interests of fairness, I will not mention my faction. But suffice to say that every time I see somebody join, and I take note of what faction they pick, and that tells me something about their character. Alright, Skeleton Killman. Yeah, you should actually find out a Skeleton Killman. By the way, guys, actually, Kite asking that question reminds me. Any streamers in chat right now? Feel free to drop your links and tell us why we should be watching you instead of me, because I know I'm always looking for new opportunities, and I have had the benefit of a lot of very supportive people like Weebro, Tony Loran, Jesse Quill, Kite260, and of course all of you guys. I don't think I could ask for a better audience in terms of people who will support a newer streamer. I think this is a wonderful environment for people who are streamers to, to find a sympathetic audience. So if you have your own stream, I know not all streamers necessarily like linking inside the chat, but I don't care if you just came here, if this is the first time that you're visiting, or if you are a long-time member, although hopefully if you're a long-time member, I know that you stream. Feel free to drop your link in chat, tell us what you're about, and give us an opportunity to find something that we might have otherwise missed on the channel. And I'm going to take that opportunity to read the rest of chat. Genius Pants PhD, what a name! What's your PhD in? Thank you so much for that follow. I'm glad you're enjoying yourself. I'm sorry we're not having more gameplay, but we've since abandoned gameplay in favor of some interesting chats. It's a gaming talk show version of Crusader Kings 2. Skeleton Killman will eventually be a streamer. I'm glad to hear that. Nice music volume there, Chalk. Oh, is it too loud? Weebro's got a question for Tony that I'm looking forward to. Don't want to kill the happy mood with a sad love story. Miss Cupcake, you told us a happy one about finding your husband. Wait, I feel like I'm rereading things. So I found Skeleton Killman's girlfriend from 9-ish years ago.
For lack of a better word.
Jesus Christ, Jesse Quill. Another top donation. Ah.
Hey, you're amazing. Have beer on me. Less than 3.
That donation was definitely not less than 3. My God, girl. Especially, I mean, you live in New York. That money should be going for yourself. But I am very happily going to take your money. And again, so recently. Thank you very much, Jesse Quill. Wedgie, by the way, mentioned that he loves that donation animation. So, guys, I still really don't know how to handle donations. Jesse Quill provoked a rather extreme response from me last week. And so if I take a look at the amount that she has donated this month alone, it's staggering to me. Especially because I know that she will make much better use of that cash. But I think the best thing that I can do is to be a good steward of the money that you guys give me. So as always, the option to write notes on that and to dictate what it goes for is always there, and I definitely stand by it. Thank you so much for that donation, Jesse Quill. I don't know what else is to be said. You are a very special person, very unique individual who I am so glad to have gotten to know, and not just because I got paid to say that. Dude who introduced you to your husband stopped talking to you when you got engaged. The rumor is that he was in love with you and couldn't handle seeing you as somebody else forever. Miss Cuppy Cake, that is really sad to hear. And that's... I'm not gonna lie. I think everybody has had that experience of seeing somebody that they have an infatuation with somebody else. But there's really something about... tells you something about somebody's character when they put their own ambitions towards an individual to a point that they would deny the other person their happiness in the name of this illusion that they would be together. So I'm really sorry to hear that that turned out with your friend. But I'd like to think that your marriage is the greater reward out of that story. Why are you not going to meet you until we go to San Fran when we live in the same town? Oh my God, so you haven't seen Tony Laurent yet? You loved him at 1.2, but he didn't want to date so well.
For lack of a better word.
What?
Is good.
Jesus Christ! God!
Is good.
This has been something I've wanted to do for a while. Notice me send PSYST and Doris here. Just wanted to say that you have a really nice stream. Also, you tots need to read this book, Wisdom and Strength. Look it up.
I'm gonna read those out on their own, but Christ almighty, guys. Okay. Akakadak says, this is something you've wanted to do for a while. I mean, Endor's here. Just wanted to say that you've got a really nice stream. Akakadak, man. That money you work... I have gotten a chance to know how hard that you work for that cash. You have gone above and beyond for so many individuals. And people who are much more deserving of a donation like this. That to get one from you especially means more than I can say. That dollar value is something I would never have imagined seeing at any point in my streaming life. But I can tell you that the value of that donation has very little to do with the dollar amount. The kinds of donations that you make are as much of an indication of somebody having quote-unquote made it, and an endorsement from somebody like you means quite a bit. So, as always, I have to feel like I disrespect people a little bit by telling them that maybe that money could have been spent somewhere else better. I still somewhat believe that a little bit inside, but if I thought I was bad at handling donations now, I don't know what else to say, dude. I like the fact that you added an absolutely fantastic joke to that allows me to talk about that rather than the absolutely shell-shocking value, both in terms of your friendship, both in terms of your endorsement, in addition to a new crowned donation value. My God, dude. I don't know what else to say, but thank you so much. And no less important. By the way, guys, I'm sorry. I'm declaring Chapter 11 on chat for a little bit because tonight is gone a little bit different from what I was expecting. But again, I'm always at odds. Actually, I really need to decide whether or not the dollar value side comes in because Tony Laurent. By the way, thanks guys for the Canadian valued ones. It's always a little hard for me whenever I don't catch the signs. The American ones translate through, so you guys have given me these nice even Canadian values. And I know that involves a little bit of foreign exchange charges for you as well, so I appreciate that. But Tony Loran, and by the way, especially, I know you've been undergoing a job search, so the fact I'm getting one from you, as I said, if I want to talk about donations that mean something in terms of the circumstances under which they are given, as well as the, you know, the sentiment behind it. With all of these things, I need to be careful not to feel bad taking it. But unfortunately, we had a little bit of a collision with the robot lady voice. So, ooh, notice me, Senpai System Chalk. Notice me! Also, you totes need to read this book, Wisdom and Strength. Look it up. Is this a book trying to instill these values inside of me? Because the wisdom is probably a little bit of a long shot. And the strength for that matter. But you definitely do not need to donate to recommend a book to me. I am very grateful for it. And if you want me to read that on stream, well, we can start looking into requests, I think. But I do know actually the next book that I'm going to be reading as well. But Tony Loren, thank you so much for that donation. And by the way, yes, I hope Notice Me Senpai System Chalk was said after I said hi to the channel. I know I've got a savage delay tonight, so I got to see what's going on here. Okay. Catching up with chat. So, because we are lazy gamers. Miss Cupcake is happy now? Great to hear it. Yeah, sorry, Miss Cupcake. I kind of stomped on your story there. Weebro's in Austin too. Do we? Man, we got a bunch of people from Texas. Jesse Quill, things like that have sorry, Jesse Quill tells Miss Cupcake things like that have happened to you. Yeah, Jesse Quill, you have got some stories. Obviously, I can't share them on stream, but I've got a couple of lines I've actually really wanted to use. If only I had a way of, like, if I had the Men in Black beam to silence people afterwards. So. Ooh, you got a whole new container of new weapons and corsets tonight. Sounds like parties at Tony Loran's place? Had a really complicated history, but I still wish you had closure there. Well, I mean, it sounds like in some ways that you found it, Miss Cupcake. 17-year-old wife, she has a baby. So weird. Yeah. Tony says, we worked together at EA, but you don't remember. Bro, you're going to hell, dude. How could you bring somebody like Tony? Yeah, actually, also, do you have amnesia? How old is she? 17. Suck it, nerds. System Chalk talking about his wife. Indeed. Tony Rand got 3 real machetes, a real Japanese ceremonial sword, a Turkish sword, an awesome real Japanese blade, and a partridge in a pear tree. Couldn't imagine getting married at 17. You hadn't even had your slut years in 17. Yeah, so one thing that's worth remembering, and this is actually one thing about Game of Thrones. The concept of childhood, it was a decidedly different affair, especially when you're considering the life expectancies of these individuals. Like, 17 is not exactly the same kind of thing. It's also worth remembering, like, Alexander the Great. Most history is written by young people. Well, not written, but, like, most history is made by young people. But with that in mind, that is not to... Like, the reason I keep highlighting the 17-year-old wife with child... 0-year-old child, but child nonetheless, with my 42-year-old guys. That's weird, right? And we use the Middle Ages Tinder to figure that out. But yeah, with that in mind, it was a different time. Just well, you're so on board with that too, Miss Cupcake. You've been going through that now, but overall, not all of life's situations have a fairy tale ending. We just have to deal sadly. Exactly. You would never forget her. She never came back to your area. Tony Loran remembers Weebro, nerd fail. You'd remember the giggle snorts. Yeah. Sungif, you wish your business could compete on the price of weapons. You're a blacksmith. Oh, that's really cool. And was trained as an armorer, but you can't compete with the prices in the US and Eastern Europe. So Sungif, do you mind if I ask where you're from? If you're mentioning those two countries as other places? But that's fantastic. I've only known one other blacksmith, but it's a fascinating hobby. Like, I never thought that was something that people did. But the way, like, the passion with which people talk about that is really impressive to me. Don't need a fairy tale ending, just an ending would be nice. Oh, you're right. That is sad. Make sure your business has a weapons license. Agree. Jessica Will just got a deal. Yeah. Anti-skeleton killman is an antisocial person. I like that you're social in chat, though. And you'd prefer that a girl come up to you, to be honest. Real skeleton killman, I have had that happen. I'm also ashamed to admit the couple of times that some charming young women have demonstrated interest, I didn't pick up on it. And I only found out after the fact, after they kind of reconciled the fact that apparently I didn't like them, or so they felt. That is a decidedly mixed blessing. There's another story which probably is not mine to well, it's mine to tell, but there's another half to that one of somebody who was maybe a little bit more active in their approach. And it seems convenient, but maybe there's another side to it that maybe isn't as appreciated until you find yourself in that. So, as always, we tend to be miserable no matter our circumstances, but we do the best that we can. Tony Loran is going to a wedding tomorrow. Is it your own? Actually, I was just talking about my friends with an anniversary. Weebro had a fiance once, got her into your WoW raiding guild, and she ran off with a guildmate and lied about it. Good God, guys. I'm glad it's not Valentine's Day. Although I should mention, Weebro, the... Okay, so I have definitely had somebody I've known in the biblical sense. There's somebody who I became involved with that was very much out of my league, and... I won't lie. They had a boyfriend. He got a little too into WoW, and that was the reason why they started looking elsewhere. It owned. Anyways, that was back in 2006. You're good now. Austin represent. The factions. Wowchalk, you did Bartitsu with or without the club? I did it with a cane, if that's what you mean. Are you going to be evolving soon? I actually have no idea what my status is in your legion, Tony Loran. Tony and Skeleton Killman live in the same state with the same last name. Tony Loran, do you have a son that we don't know about? You know what I mean. Skeleton is actually Tony, evil twin. Won't kill skeletons. Thank you again, Sir Wedgie, for panda links. Skeletons are your people. Sorry, guys, I'm just catching up on chat. See, the worst thing is that all the chat that's being read right now, or that's being written right now, is probably about, oh my god, when is he going to finish getting through chat? The gameplay has since halted. I finally get to find out Genius Pants is PhD. PhD isn't being a genius. Great to have you in the channel. I am so sorry. I'm really disrespecting all of the new follows today because I'm just catching up. But if you've been watching the last few minutes, we're in a little bit of unknown territory here. So I appreciate your guys' patience. I've taken these kind donations and completely crapped all over them by stopping the stream. The music is perfect. Okay, great. Thank you, Weebro. Genius Pants, love your names. Yeah, Genius. There's actually some really good names inside chat tonight. Astral Seer, if you insist, you're a variety streamer. Most of the strategy and role-playing games, including CK2. Why should you follow you? Because you love talking to people, meeting new people, and because your community is awesome. That is a great reason to be following Astral Seer. So obviously I said that quite some time ago, but Astral Steer is the first one I've noticed to come and take us up. I've obviously introduced a few people on there, but there's definitely, I will let you know, from my experience, there are not a lot of Crusader Kings 2 streams, and there are even fewer ones that I can spend some extended time inside of. So definitely Astral Seer. I can also say from the experience of chat, Astral Seer is somebody who likes teaching people the game. So it's obvious I'm not getting through as much of the educational material as I wanted. We will unpause the game before the stream ends tonight, I promise you that. But Astral Steer is another individual who I have a feeling, I don't want to speak on their behalf, but Astral Steer I suspect is somebody who'd be very happy to help you out with questions. You gave $10 because that's how much beer is here. Jesse Quill, if we are ever in a city together, I will buy you a cheap beer in honor of our our new location. Don't know how to handle donations. He doesn't accept it, he just takes it. Yeah. Well done, Skeleton Kill, man. You called me out. It's just, I'm just sitting on a big hoard of cash, naked, swimming in it like Scrooge McDuck. This is a guy who taught us how to compliment the ladies, gets a donation, doesn't know how to handle it. That means it's time to break the cat. You take that money and run, Jock. Hashtag. Okay, I know where we are right now. Oh noes. Oh man, you've been drinking the last 10 hours and suddenly it's getting hungover. Ack. I know I have. Wow. Look shocked. Yeah, everybody just saw that donation. Ack, ack, ack. I don't know what to do with you. Thank you so much. Sounds like he spilled hot coffee on him. My coffee is long since gone cold. Everybody go silent for 5-ish minutes so it's easier to catch up with chat. More like half an hour, Skeleton Kill, man. So I suppose the breaking of chalk has happened now. That's a great way to spend money. What could be better than chalk? I can think of a lot of things that are better than chalk. Again, with the emphatic music. Hacks the chalk. Music always matches whatever's happening on the stream. It's insane. Okay, Akadak. So after I've completely fallen over myself, you give me the cheat code for accepting your donation. Thank you, Akadak. We sure as hell are not square, but I will gladly accept you saying it, and I will spend the next couple of years figuring out how to repay you. But my God, man, thank you so much. I have a lot of respect for you and what I'm building. God, guys. And man, guys, the sentiment that you're adding to that. It follows the journey of a Renaissance mentor painting throughout history. That definitely sounds like the kind of thing that I am interested in, Tony Loran. Through all the owners and what happens to them during World Wars and after. Okay, so if you like that book, there's a Canadian film, one of the few good Canadian films made, called The Red Violin. I actually think you'll really like it. It's got Sam Jackson in it. I strongly recommend that film, Tony Loran. Sounds like an awesome book. You do have stories? Yes. It's extremely interesting while remaining historically accurate. That especially is cool. There's actually a book that I like. It's not necessarily 100% historically accurate, but it's kind of, the feeling is right. Neil Stephenson's Baroque Cycle. So Quicksilver, The Confusion, and The System of the World are some fantastic books if you like kind of bigger fiction. Damn it. R.I.P. Weebro. Chalk, make me your wife. Weebro, it's such a great read. Highly recommend it. Tony had no reason to come back to the sports department. You were tucked in the corner. It wasn't your fault. Partridge in a Pear Tree. Okay, I'm starting to recognize some bits. Pear pairs. Just like to wander around and meet new people. Yeah, so Tony Loran was probably busy working on like The Godfather. Oh wait, no, The Godfather was Vancouver. But yeah, just suddenly decides to visit the sports department.